Hey guys, how are you all? Welcome back to my channel. Today we will see what if Naruto was never in Team 7. If you enjoy, then please like, share and do comments. The light of the morning sun was shining through the window into a bedroom occupied by Naruto Uzumaki. He slowly got up from his sleep and rubbed his eyes in an effort to get rid of the sleepiness that lingered in them. He then slowly turned his head towards the calendar that hung on his wall next to his door. He squinted a bit to see it and his eyes immediately lost their sleepiness and flew open. Today's the team placements, Naruto had shouted excitedly. As he jumped out of his bed and got dressed, he was thinking about who would be on his team. I hope I get Sakura or Hinata on my team, Naruto said as he finished getting dressed and went to the kitchen to make himself some breakfast. He wanted Hinata on his team because she was the only person that was friendly to him and was his friend besides Choji and Shikamaru, and he wanted Sakura on his team because he liked the girl. He finished preparing his breakfast. It was a simple breakfast, only eggs and bacon. He realized that ramen wasn't that much of a healthy choice and the only other thing that he could buy was eggs and bacon, because if he tried buying anything else the prices shot up to 3 times the original price. He still loved ramen a lot, but he decided to choose something else for breakfast to spice things up. Once he finished eating his breakfast, he placed the dishes in the sink and rushed out the door eagerly. He avoided the streets because he didn't want to get beat up or tortured before team placements. So Naruto ran across the rooftops and after a few quick minutes passed he arrived at the door to the academy. I can't wait to get my team. Believe it, Naruto shouted as he pumped a fist into the air. He walked into the building and quickly made his way to the classroom. Once he entered, he realized he was really early and there were only 2 others in the room. One was the last Uchiha, Sasuke Uchiha. He was sitting at the middle desk in the middle seat, just brooding away like the emo he was. The other person was Naruto's best friend Shikamaru Nara. He was sitting at the desk in the back top of the classroom in the middle seat, and also like the lazy person he was sleeping. Naruto made his way to the seat next to Shikamaru and sat down to wait for everyone to come in. When he sat down, Sasuke turned his head and looked at Naruto. Hey Dobi, what do you think you're doing here? You're only supposed to be here if you passed the graduation exam, and last time I checked you didn't, so get your ass out of here, Sasuke said with a smug expression on his face. Naruto pulled his headband out of his pocket and tied it on his head and pointed towards it. What do you think this is on my forehead, duckass? Naruto said as he started to snicker at the angered expression from the Uchiha, and as Naruto snickered he heard, "Troublesome blondes," come from the person that was next to him. After an hour or two, all the kids that graduated the exam entered the classroom and took their seats. Soon after that, Iruka came into the room and gained everyone's attention quickly. As you all know, everyone in this classroom right now has passed the graduation exams yesterday. It was an honor to be your teacher and teach you all the basics of becoming a ninja, and so now I'll announce your teams, Iruka said as he grabbed a stack of papers and started to list of the teams. No one cares about teams 1 to 6. Alright, I'll announce the members of Team 7. They will be Sasuke Uchiha, Sakura Haruno, and Choji Akamichi. Your Jonin sensei will be Kakashi Hitaki, Iruka said as he read the paper that held the names for Team 7. Ha, in your face Ino, pig. Sasuke on my team, Sakura said as she turned around and faced Ino while making a face at her. Shut up, billboard brow, I still won't lose to you, Ino said as she crossed her arms and looked away. If you're done ladies, I'll continue, Iruka said, a little annoyed at the 2 girls. Alright, Team 8 will have Kiba Inuzuka, Hinata Hyuga, and Shino Aburame. Your Jonin sensei will be Kurenai Yuhi, Iruka said as he started listing teams off again. Naruto had lights and sirens going off inside his head. He was panicking because he didn't get on a team with either Sakura or Hinata like he wanted to. He was now extremely worried about who he was going to get as teammates and sensei. As Naruto continued to worry and dread about his team, Iruka continued with the team placements. Team 9 is still in service, so I'll skip to Team 10. Team 10 will have Naruto Uzumaki, Shikamaru Nara, and Ino Yamanaka. Your Jonin sensei will be Asumaseru Tobi, Iruka said as he finished listing off the teams. There will be a lunch break now, and after that, you will come back here to meet your Jonin senseis, and until then, dismissed, Iruka said as he picked up his papers and bag and left the classroom with the newly formed teams talking with each other and leaving to go have lunch. Ino's mind was somewhere else ever since Iruka announced who her teammates were. She was not only upset that she wasn't teamed with Sasuke and that Sakura was, but she got teamed up with a lazy guy and the dead last. This is great, just great, Ino thought as she stared forward at the wall. Shikamaru was just going to try and make the best of it. He couldn't change the teams no matter how troublesome it was, so he decided to not dwell on it anymore, so he decided to grab his teammates and went to Naruto first and tapped the blonde's shoulder. Huh, oh hey Shikamaru, what's up? Naruto asked. I decided that we should all get lunch together as a team, Shikamaru said as he put his hands into his pockets. Okay, sounds good, Naruto said as he got up and pushed his chair back in. They walked over to Ino and tried to get her attention but weren't having much success. Hey, Ino. Earth to Ino. Hey Ino. Shikamaru said as he shouted the last part. What do you want, Shika? Ino said as she looked at Shikamaru and Naruto with a glare. We were going to eat lunch as a team, so come on, Shikamaru said in a bored tone. Alright, but from this point on I'm in charge, Ino said as she got up reluctantly and went with her new team to eat lunch. Naruto was going to suggest they go and get ramen, but he shut that down quickly. They had made it to the roof of the academy to eat their lunch, and as they were eating, Ino asked a question. So what kind of jutsu do you guys know? Ino asked as she bit down on her food. Well, I can do all the basic academy jutsu and my family's shadow possession jutsu, Shikamaru said nonchalantly. Wow, you can use shadows, that's so cool, Shikamaru. Naruto said excitedly. Well, I can also do the basic jutsu, but I can also do my family's mind transfer jutsu, I said. Wow, Ino-chan, that's awesome, Naruto said as he looked at Ino with stars in his eyes. Ino blushed a little at the fact that Naruto added "chan" to her name when he called it. But she quickly got rid of it before she asked Naruto, so Naruto, what kind of jutsu do you know? Ino asked curiously. Well, I can do the substitution and transformation jutsu, but I'm terrible at the clone jutsu. But I can do the shadow clone jutsu, Naruto said with pride at the last bit. But you can barely make a single decent clone, how can you make shadow clones? Shikamaru asked his friend. Well, since I have so much chakra it's pretty easy to make them, I guess, Naruto said as he scratched the back of his head in a confused manner. Both Ino and Shikamaru looked at Naruto with surprise before Ino spoke up. Well, it's close to the time we meet our sensei, so let's head back, Ino said as she packed her stuff up. Once Naruto and Shikamaru packed up, the three went back to the classroom to meet their new sensei and begin their journey as ninja. Lunch had ended and the new genin had returned back to the classroom to meet their new jonin senseis. When Naruto, Shikamaru, and Ino returned from their lunch break, they entered back into the classroom only to see a few men and women that they assumed were the jonin senseis. The new Team 10 decided that since they were going to be a team from now on, that they should start acting like one. So they all sat down at the same table and wait for their team to be called. After a bit of waiting, Iruka had come back into the room and started to speak to his former students. Alright, these men and women that stand before you will be your jonin senseis for your duration as genin to chunin. Remember to work and train hard and always listen to your sensei, which includes you, Naruto, Iruka said as he looked at Naruto when he finished. Hey, Naruto shouted in an offended tone while everyone snickered. After that, the jonin senseis for teams 1 to 6 had called their teams and left the room. Team 8? A beautiful raven-haired woman with remarkable red eyes said. She wore a red mesh armor blouse with only the right sleeve visible. Over this was a very broad material which resembled bandages with a pattern on it that looked like rose thorns, and her hands and upper thighs were also wrapped in bandages without the thorn pattern. I Kurenai Yuhi, I'm your jonin sensei, and if you'll follow me we can get started. Kurenai motioned for her team to follow her, and as Hinata, Kiba, and Shino got up from their seats and went to their new sensei, Sakura stopped, raised her hand. Excuse me, but you skipped over Team 7, where's our sensei? Sakura asked as she held her hand up. All the remaining jonin senseis looked at each other, snickered with amusement before Asuma spoke up. Let's just say that you'll be here for a while, Asuma said as he rubbed the back of his neck in embarrassment for his fellow jonin's lateness. Anyways, Team 10, I'm Asuma Sarutobi and I'm your jonin sensei, follow me, Asuma said as he walked out of the room. When he walked out, Naruto, Ino and Shikamaru followed after him quickly. As Asuma left with his new team, he had thought about the conversation he had with his father from early. Flashback begins. Asuma was sitting in the chair that sat right in front of the Hokage's desk a few hours before he went to get his new team. He was discussing with his father about the members of his team. "Father, why do I have Naruto on my team? I was supposed to train the next Ino Shika Cho trio, but you put Choji on Kokushi's team and gave Minato-sensei's kid?" Asuma asked as he blew smoke from his cigarette. "I placed Naruto on your team because he needs to be properly trained. If he was put on Kakashi's team, he won't have any adequate training because Kakashi would focus on the Uchiha boy," Hiruzen said as he signed another paper. "Alright, I'll train him, father, but I'll train him and my team my way," Asuma said as he stood up from his chair. "I thank you for that, my son. Don't forget that I believe in you. You can do this," Hiruzen said with a smile towards his son. "You own me big time," Asuma grumbled before he turned around and left the office. When Asuma left, Hiruzen turned his chair around and got up from it to look out towards the village before sighing. "I just hope that Asuma can train your boy to become a hero. This village can respect Minato," Hiruzen said as he turned back around to continue his battle on the enemy of all Kage. Paperwork. Flashback ends. Asuma had brought his new team to a barbecue restaurant so that they could do their team introductions. They sat down in one of the many booths inside of the restaurant with Naruto taking a seat next to the window, Shikamaru sitting across from him, Asuma sitting next to Shikamaru, and Ino sitting next to Naruto. Once they had ordered what they wanted and it arrived, they started to cook their food. Once a few pieces had been cooked, Asuma spoke to his team. "Alright, let's get these team introductions out of the way," Asuma said as he took a bite from his food. "Just to let you guys know what to do, I'll go first. My name is Asuma Sarutobi. I like smoking, training, and playing poker and shogi. I dislike people who complain about my smoking habit and people who compare me to my father, the Hokage. My goal is to train you guys so that you can the most powerful shinobi ever. Now with that over with, you guys try. You first, girly," Asuma said as he finished introducing himself and pointed to Ino. "Alright, my name is Ino Yamanaka. I like flowers, training with daddy, and working at my family's flower shop. I dislike people who belittle me and think I'm weak because I'm a girl. My goal is to become even better and surpass my father in the T&I department," Ino said with a smile. "This is a drag. My name is Shikamaru Nara. I like cloud watching, playing shogi, and anything that has to do with sleeping. I dislike anything that's too troublesome to handle. I guess my goal is to have an average career, marry an average woman, have a family that's not too troublesome, and retire really early," Shikamaru said with a bored expression and tone. Everyone's sweat dropped because of what Shikamaru said. "Alright, now it's my turn. My name is Naruto Uzumaki. I like ramen, pranking people, and hanging out with my friend Hinata. I dislike those who judge a book by its cover and those who hate someone else without even knowing them. My goal is to become the strongest Hokage so that the people will finally start to respect me," Naruto said as introduced himself. After taking in all the information, Asuma spoke. "Alright. Now that we've introduced ourselves, I want you all to pack enough stuff for a month because we'll be leaving the village for a training mission. We'll meet at the front gate at 5 a.m. in the morning so that I can train you guys my way to make you the best shinobi ever. Until then, you're dismissed," Asuma said as he paid for the meal and walked off to get ready for the long month ahead of him. "This is too troublesome, you know. Anyway, see you tomorrow," Shikamaru said as he got up from the booth and left. "Alright. I guess I'll see you tomorrow, Ino. Bye," Naruto said as he got up from the booth and started to leave but was stopped because Ino had grabbed his arm. Turning around, Naruto saw a questioning look in Ino's face. "What did you mean earlier when you said you dislike those who judge a book by its cover and those who hate someone else without even knowing them?" Ino asked. Naruto looked at Ino for a second before bowing his head. "What I mean by that is people think I'm the Nine Tails because he's sealed inside of me and they hate me for that. For that, almost every day I was beaten. I was punched, kicked, and stabbed, and every time the Nine Tails healed me, and I'm thankful for that because if it didn't, I would definitely be dead by now. Even when I try to get things I need, the owners either throw me out and call me demon or raise the prices up so high that I can't buy them. But enough about me, I'll see you tomorrow, Ino," Naruto said as he gave Ino a big smile. As Naruto was talking, Ino had shed a single tear. She had never known that happened to Naruto, and she made it worse by being so cruel to him every time she saw him. She felt terrible for what she had done but was determined to change that. As Naruto turned around towards the door to leave, he felt two arms embrace him in a hug from behind him. He turned around to see who was hugging him and saw that it was Ino. "I'm so sorry Naruto for the way I treated you when we were in the academy. I hope you can forgive me and we can be friends," Ino said in a sob as she started to cry. Naruto saw this and immediately hugged Ino back. "I forgive you Ino, I really do, and of course we can be friends," Naruto said as he was hugging Ino. Ino looked up at Naruto with a tear-stained face. "Are you serious?" Ino said while she was wiping away her tears. 100% believe it, Naruto shouted as Ino started to grin at the fact that Naruto forgave her and accepted her friendship. After that, they left the restaurant to go home and pack for the journey, and they were both thinking about what tomorrow might bring them. Naruto was sleeping in his apartment when all of a sudden there was a blaring beeping sound that startled and woke Naruto up immediately. "Ah!" Naruto screamed as he fell out of his bed. He then stood up reluctantly and turned his alarm clock off and saw that it read 4:30 a.m. "Guess I have enough time for a quick breakfast," Naruto said groggily as he made his way quickly to the bathroom to take a quick shower. Once he finished with his shower, he got dressed quickly and grabbed the stuff he packed last night for the training mission and grabbed an apple on the way out of his apartment to eat. Once he made it out of his apartment, he locked his door and ran to the front gate. By the time he arrived at the gate, it was 5 minutes before 5 a.m. and he saw Ino and Shikamaru there and he decided to greet them. "Hey, what's up Shikamaru, Ino-chan," Naruto said as he walked up to them waving his hand. Ino gave a slight blush when Naruto added the "chan" to her name when he called her, but hid it quickly when Naruto got there. Shikamaru noticed Ino's blush but decided to brush it off and waved his greeting to Naruto. Ino then quickly said good morning to Naruto before turning away from him. Naruto was confused about why Ino did this, but he shrugged it off and started to talk to Shikamaru for a bit. 5 a.m., right on the dot, Asuma arrived at the front gates of Konoha. He greeted his team and they greeted back, and Naruto asked, "Hey sensei, why do we have to leave the village for a month for a training mission?" Naruto asked. Asuma sighed before explaining, "I'm going to be training you guys my way, and this is my way of training, so when you guys come back in a month you'll be really strong." Naruto started to beam with excitement at the fact that he would be super strong by the end of the month and he couldn't wait to start. "We're wasting time just standing here, let's move out," Asuma said before running forward. Once they were close to their destination, Asuma stopped running and jumped onto the ground and his team followed his lead. Once they were down on the ground, Asuma turned around and faced his team. "Alright, we're going to take a break here and have a small breakfast before we arrive at our destination. I need you three to look for some wood to use as firewood, and if you encounter anything dangerous run back here," Asuma said as he started to set up the fireplace. Naruto, Ino, and Shikamaru walked in the woods for a little bit before returning with a decent amount of firewood for the fire. They handed the wood to Asuma and he placed it under the cooking stand and used a small fire jutsu to start the fire, and then opened a pot that was on the stand and put some water in it and threw in some oatmeal and fruit for their breakfast. Naruto was instantly intrigued by what Asuma said and walked towards his sensei and sat next to him before asking Asuma a question. "How did you do that Asuma-sensei?" Naruto asked curiously. "I used a small fire jutsu to lit the fire," Asuma said as he stirred the oatmeal in the pot. "You can use jutsu for stuff like that?" Naruto asked, his voice full of surprise. "Yeah, you can use jutsu for about anything if you put your mind to it. It all depends on your chakra nature," Asuma said as he placed the lid for the pot back on. "Chakra nature?" Naruto asked in a confused tone. Asuma sighed before motioning Shikamaru and Ino over before he started his explanation. "Alright guys, first lesson we're going to have is on chakra nature. There are 5 types of chakra natures. There's fire, earth, water, wind, and finally lightning chakra natures. My chakra natures are fire and wind, and because of that I can easily use wind and fire jutsu and learn new wind and fire jutsu quickly. I can still use earth, water, and lightning jutsu, but it will take more of my chakra because I don't have either of those chakra natures," Asuma said before pulling out 3 pieces of paper. "These are pieces of chakra paper. They're special pieces of paper that when you focus your chakra into it reveals your chakra nature," Asuma said as he handed one piece to Naruto, Shikamaru, and Ino and pulled out another one for himself. "Let me demonstrate," Asuma said before he channeled his chakra into the piece of paper and it split into 2 with one piece bursting into flames and turning to ash. Team 10 looked at Asuma with amazement after they saw what he did. Alright, I'm going to tell you about this real quick before you do the same. Basically, if you have wind then the paper will split in half, if you have water it will dampen, if you have fire it will burn and turn to ash, if you have earth then it will crumble and turn into dust, and if you have lightning then it will crinkle, Asuma explained. After his explanation, Naruto, Ino, and Shikamaru started to put their chakra into their paper and after a bit they opened their eyes and looked at the results. I guess my chakra nature is water, Ino said as she held a piece of damp paper in her hands. What a drag, mine's fire, Shikamaru said lazily as he looked at his paper that was burning but soon turned to ash. I think mine's broken, Asuma-sensei, Naruto said. Asuma, Ino, and Shikamaru looked over at Naruto and deadpanned. His paper had split in two and one of the pieces had crinkled. Usually only Jonins have two chakra natures, but I guess you're a special case, Naruto, Asuma said as he smiled at Naruto. Yeah, we're going to kick ass now, Naruto, Ino shouted at her stunned teammate. Naruto quickly broke out of his stunned state and donned a huge grin on his face before he turned towards Ino and said, "Yeah, we are. Believe it?" Naruto shouted as he pumped a fist into the air. After that Asuma handed out their breakfast and when they finished Asuma packed up the cooking gear and stood up. Alright, we don't have much longer until we get to our destination and when we get there you guys can off until it's time for dinner, after that it's light out early because we have a long day of training tomorrow, Asuma said as he began running again towards their destination. After another hour or two they had finally arrived at their destination. It was a two-story cabin just outside the land of fire and close by to a village. There was a large lake behind the cabin and the cabin itself was surrounded by dense forest. Once they entered the cabin they looked around and saw a small kitchen, a small dining room and living room, a small bathroom with a shower, and adjacent to that was a small bedroom and the second floor contained a loft with 3 beds. Once they fully entered the cabin Asuma turned around and faced his team. Alright, I'll be taking the room on the first floor and you 3 will be sharing the loft upstairs, Asuma said. You mean I have to sleep in the same room as boys? Ino asked. Is that a problem, Ino? Asuma replied. Well, I'm a girl, shouldn't I get my own room? Ino said. No, you should be fine, Ino, trust your teammates. I mean, you've known Shikamaru ever since you were a little kid and I know Naruto won't do anything, but if the both of them do try something you can kill them, Asuma said as he gave Naruto and Shikamaru a look that said don't try to do anything. Ino turns around and faces her teammates before saying, you two better not try anything or else I'll cut off what makes you a man, Ino threatened. We won't, Naruto and Shikamaru said quickly and in unison, afraid for their manhood. The sun was rising up into the sky slowly as morning came and it shined its light into the room of the newly formed Team 10. As the light shined into the room it woke Ino up first because she normally up as soon as the sun rises. Just on time, Ino said in her head as she got out of her bed as quietly as she could so that she didn't wake the other 2 boys sleeping. As quietly as she could Ino changed out from her nightwear into her usual attire. She wrapped the bandages around her abdomen and her legs and when she finished with that she put her purple high-collared blouse and her matching apron skirt. She then put her small hoop earrings on and her white arm warmers. After getting dressed she made her way quietly out of the room downstairs and into the kitchen to make her team breakfast. Since it was morning and there were enough ingredients she made a type of breakfast bread. Once she placed the bread into the oven she decided to make some coffee and started cooking some bacon and eggs to go with the bread. Once she finished with cooking the eggs and bacon she took the now fully baked breakfast bread and placed on the kitchen's counter to cool. As she waited for the bread to cool down Asuma walked into the kitchen with his usual mission attire on. Good morning Asuma-sensei, Ino said as she gave Asuma a smile before returning her attention back to the cooling bread. Good morning Ino, when did you get up? Asuma asked as he poured himself a cup of coffee and took a sip. I got up 2 hours ago, Ino answered, not looking away from the bread. Oh, Asuma said. What's that you're staring at? Asuma asked. He looked from Ino to the cooling bread. It's a type of breakfast bread my mom makes on special occasions, Ino said as she got up and took the bread from the baking dish and placed it on a cutting board and proceeded to cut it into slices. Oh, Asuma said with intrigue evident in his voice, and is today a special occasion? Asuma asked as he took another sip of his coffee. It is. Today we start our training, Ino said with happiness as she placed the bread, eggs, and bacon onto 4 plates and placed them onto the table. You can go ahead and eat, sensei. I'll go wake up Shika and Naruto, Ino said as she walked up the stairs into the room she shared with the two mentioned boys. When she entered she found them still asleep. It's like already 8 in the morning, they should be up right now, Ino said in her head. She suddenly got an idea on how to wake them up. She grabbed a few fake explosive pellets from her bag and threw them next top each of their beds. They both screamed as Ino laughed uncontrollably. Once she gained some control of her breathing she uttered out, "Come on you lazy lumps, breakfast is ready, and don't forget we have training today." Ino shouted as she left the room. After a few minutes the two boys made their way down the steps and sat at the table and began eating their food. Ino was eating her food while sometimes quietly snickering. When she looked over at the two she woke up. Asuma saw this and finally figured out what those explosions were earlier. I'm afraid what she would have used if that didn't wake them up, Asuma thought as a shudder passed through as he thought of the possible ways Ino could wake them. After breakfast Ino quickly took the dishes and placed them in the sink so they could be washed at a later time. Once Ino made it outside she met her team in a clearing not too far from the house but far enough. The clearing was surrounded by the tallest trees that she has ever seen. Once she did enter the clearing she made her way to her teammates and stood next to them while they sent her glares. Alright, the second lesson I'm going to teach you guys is chakra control, and the way I'm going to teach you guys is by telling you to climb these trees, Asuma said as he looked over his team of genin. But Asuma-sensei, we already know how to climb trees. Ino asked. We learned that at the academy, Ino stated while crossing her arms. Yeah, what Ino-chan said, Naruto shouted. How's his climbing trees even supposed to teach us chakra control anyways? Naruto questioned as he squinted his eyes in confusion. Asuma let out a sigh before responding. You're going to climb the trees without using your hands, Asuma said, waiting for the reactions from his students. Both Ino and Naruto's mouths dropped open dramatically while Shikamaru just yawned. But sensei, how are we supposed to climb the tree without using our hands? Ino asked. Let me demonstrate, Asuma said as he started to concentrate chakra to his feet and walked towards a tree. Once he arrived in front of the tree he placed one of his feet onto the trunk and proceeded to start walking up the tree and hung from a branch that wasn't that far from the ground. Naruto, Ino, and Shikamaru now looked at their sensei with awe as he fell from the branch and landed on his feet with his hands in his pocket. That's how you'll do it, Asuma said. How do we start? Ino asked. You'll need to concentrate your chakra into your feet so that you'll be able to stick to the tree. Apply too much chakra and you'll break the bark of the tree and fall. Apply too little chakra and you'll fall before you even get up a foot from the ground, Asuma said. Asuma then threw 3 kunai towards their feet and they picked up the kunai. You'll use thoughts to mark where you got before falling back down to the ground, Asuma said as he walked over to a tree and leaned against it. Alright, begin, Asuma shouted, and Naruto, Ino, and Shikamaru went to a tree and started to apply chakra to their feet. Once they thought they had it they started the exercise. After about an hour they were still at it. Damn it, how much longer is this going to take? Ino cursed in her head as she again applied chakra to her feet. Once she finished that she walked towards her tree and placed her foot on the bark and started to walk up the tree. She kept walking and walking until she nearly reached the top of the tree. I finally did it, Ino said in her mind. I finally did it. I climbed the tree, Ino yelled. Naruto, Shikamaru, and Asuma looked up where they heard the noise and saw Ino sitting on a branch near the top of the tree. Good job Ino, you finished first, Asuma said as he was looking up at Ino. Naruto looked over at his marks and realized that they weren't even that far up the tree. Damn it, why can't I get this? Naruto cursed as he concentrated chakra into his feet and made another attempt to go up the tree. After a few hours had passed it was nearing lunchtime. Ino had helped out both Shikamaru and Naruto and gave them pointers on how to do it. Now Shikamaru, after those past few hours and with Ino's advice, had finally made it onto a branch that was at the same height as the branch Ino was on hours earlier. This is too troublesome, but I made it at least, Shikamaru said in his head as Yondan made his way back down to the ground. As he walked down the tree and arrived on the ground he saw Naruto fall down off the tree again. He could tell Naruto was frustrated and pissed. Damn it, why the hell can't I get this stupid exercise? Naruto shouted in anger. I'm doing everything right and I'm following Ino-chan's advice down to the letter, so why can't I do it? Naruto said in his mind as he looked angrily at the tree. Ino had noticed Naruto getting angry and started to walk up to him and calm him down and to tell him that he can do this. As she started to make her way over to Naruto, she was stopped by Asuma placing a hand in front of her. Ino looked up at her sensei and saw him shaking his head. "Let me handle this," Asuma said as he walked over to Naruto, who just now fell down from the tree in another failed attempt to climb it. "Hey Naruto, got a second?" Asuma asked Naruto. "Yes sensei, what's it you want to talk about?" Naruto asked as he turned around to look at his sensei. "The reason you're not able to do this exercise is that you have a lot of chakra. You have even more chakra than me. Do you know why?" Asuma asked as he placed his hand on Naruto's shoulder. "Yeah I do, it's because of the fox isn't it?" Naruto said. "You probably don't want me as a student now because you don't want to teach a demon," Naruto said as tears threatened to fall from his eyes. "Kid, I've known about the fox being sealed inside of you ever since you were 2 years old when I left to join the Guardian Shinobi 12. I know you're not the demon fox, you're Naruto Uzumaki of the Hidden Leaf and nothing can change that," Asuma said as he gave a reassuring squeeze on Naruto's shoulders. Naruto looked up at Asuma and immediately engulfed him in a hug. "Thank you sensei, that means a lot coming from you," Naruto said as he hugged Asuma. After a few seconds Asuma broke the hug and looked at Naruto. "Do you know the shadow clone jutsu Naruto?" Asuma asked, already knowing the answer. Naruto nodded his head and Asuma continued. "Well, when a shadow clone is dispelled, all the knowledge and experience it gained goes back to the original," Asuma said. "You mean I can use my shadow clones to make me learn stuff faster?" Naruto said in excitement. Asuma nodded his head. Yes, and Naruto donned a huge grin on his face. "Well, why didn't you say that before?" Naruto said. "Shadow clone jutsu," Naruto shouted as he crossed his fingers and a large puff of smoke appeared. Once the smoke finally dissipated, Ino, Shikamaru, and even Asuma were shocked. In front of them stood 500 of Naruto's shadow minus the real Naruto. "Alright, let's do this you guys," the original Naruto shouted. "Yeah," all the clones shouted as they all pumped their fist into the air. It was the day after Naruto, Ino, and Shikamaru had started and completed the tree climbing exercise. After Naruto had created his clones, it was only a short time after he did that he mastered the exercise and could now walk up the tree no problem. But once Naruto completed the exercise, he had fainted due to chakra exhaustion and slept the entire rest of the day and night. They had continued this exercise for a few days, and the last day they did it, Ino had exhausted herself and was extremely tired. It's now morning and the sun is rising up into the sky and shining into the room of Naruto, Ino, and Shikamaru. Ino was exhausted from yesterday's training, so she had decided to sleep in that morning. Naruto, surprisingly, had woken up first and was looking around the room with sleep in his eyes still. He rubbed his eyes in an attempt to get the sleep out of them and looked over at Ino's bed and noticed that she was still sleeping. She must have been really exhausted if she's sleeping in, Naruto thought as he got out of his bed and quickly changed into his mission clothes and walked out of the room. After everyone had woken up, Asuma led them all outside to teach them the next lesson, Lesson 3, Taijutsu. "Alright, guys, I'm going to make you spar against me for at least 2 matches each so I can see what kind of style of fighting suits you guys the best," Asuma said, lighting his cigarette. "You should really stop smoking sensei, it's not good for you," Ino said as she saw Asuma light the cigarette. Asuma sighs before responding. "Alright, let's just start, Naruto, you're first." Asuma and Naruto faced each other in a makeshift ring they made just for this. They launched at each other and Naruto threw punches and kicks, but Asuma was mostly just blocking so he could figure out a style that fit Naruto. He continued this trend for both Ino and Shikamaru, and by the end of Shikamaru's second match he had figured out each person's style. Naruto was a brawler type, so Asuma taught him karate. For Ino, he taught her taekwondo because when she fought she was fluid with her movements. For Shikamaru it was kind of hard because of his lazy nature, but eventually Asuma taught him Krav Maga because it would allow Shikamaru to take his opponents down quickly. They all practiced their taijutsu styles all day and took a break at lunch so they could rest a little and get something to eat. "Hey, sensei, I have a question," Naruto asked as he took a bite out of rice ball. "What is it, Naruto?" Asuma asked. "When are you going to teach us some jutsu?" Naruto asked Asuma, looking up from his food. This interested Ino and even Shikamaru, so they also turned their heads to look at their sensei, waiting for his response. I'll teach each of you jutsu that fits you when you guys complete the final chakra control exercise tomorrow, Asuma said while scratching the back of his head. Come on sensei, that's not fair, Naruto whined as he went back to eating his lunch. After they had finished lunch they went straight back to sparring each other so they could get used to their style even more. As Naruto was sparring Shikamaru, he blocked one of Shikamaru's strikes a little too hard and dislocated Shikamaru's elbow and shoulder. Once that happened, Naruto stopped fighting immediately and Shikamaru started to hold his dislocated shoulder, attempting to keep it from dislocating even more. Asuma walked over to Shikamaru and inspected his arm. We're going to have to go to the clinic in town to get you fixed up, Shikamaru, Asuma said as he inspected Shikamaru's arm. I'm really sorry Shikamaru, I didn't mean to hurt you, please forgive me, Naruto said as he ran to Shikamaru. It's okay Naruto, I know you didn't mean to hurt me. This is just troublesome, but at least I didn't die. If I did that would be even more troublesome, Shikamaru said as he joked with Naruto. We might have to stay in the town tonight as well. I don't want to risk dislocating your elbow and shoulder again, Asuma said before turning to Naruto and Ino and saying, are you two going to be okay with just yourselves for tonight? Of course we are sensei. Whiskers here wouldn't let anyone harm his blonde beauty, Ino said with a flirtatious tone while looking at Naruto. This had caused Naruto to blush slightly. Ino had been low-key flirting with him for the past few days, and during those days Ino had given Naruto a nickname. Why do you call me Whiskers, Ino? Naruto asked with his arms crossed, looking at Ino. Because I can and because I want to, Ino said as she also crossed her arms and got closer to Naruto. She had got so close to Naruto that his face started to turn red. Asuma laughed a little bit before telling Naruto and Ino that they had the rest of the day off and walking with Shikamaru towards the town's clinic. Naruto and Ino had walked back into the cabin, and since it was close to dinner time Ino told Naruto to make them dinner. But I'm not a girl Ino, shouldn't you make dinner, Naruto said. Ino turned towards Naruto and yelled at him. Naruto, if you don't make dinner I'm going to show you. My mom, flying frying pan jutsu, got it. Naruto immediately shut up and went into the kitchen to prepare dinner. Shikamaru was right. Women are troublesome, Naruto whispered. I heard that, Ino yelled from in the living room. Naruto decided to just shut up completely and make dinner. He didn't know how to make a lot of stuff, but he made beef curry with rice. He plated the food on 2 plates and grabbed some eating utensils before heading into the living room and placing the food in front of Ino. This looks good Naruto, Ino said as she took some food and placed it in her mouth. As soon as the food hit her tongue she got stars in her eyes. Naruto, this food is delicious. A girl could get used to this kind of cooking, Ino said as she ate the food with eagerness. Thanks Ino. Ayame taught me how to cook some dishes and this was one of them, Naruto said as he ate. Who's this Ayame? Ino asked Naruto with a hint of jealousy in her voice. She's the daughter of the old man that runs the ramen stand back in the village. She was concerned for my health so she taught me how to make different things so that I didn't just eat ramen. She's like a big sister to me. Naruto said as recalled the memories of Ayame teaching him how to make basic foods like eggs. That's good, Ino said relived. Naruto and Ino had talked the night away and stopped talking when they realized that it was late at night. So they placed their dishes into the sink and washed them before they took their showers and went to bed. After a few hours screams were heard. Ino bolted upright and looked around the room and noticed that the screams came from Naruto. Ino had made her way over to Naruto and sat next to him and started to stroke Naruto's cheeks. When she started to stroke Naruto's whiskers Naruto started to purr. Oh my goodness, this is just too cute, Ino squealed in her as she continued to stroke Naruto's whiskers. After a bit Ino started to get up and go back into her bed to sleep. But as she got up Naruto, in his sleep, grabbed Ino's wrist and rolled over causing Ino to be pulled into the bed next to him. I would punch him into next week if I didn't know he was sleeping, Ino said. Ino then noticed that Naruto wasn't wearing a shirt, revealing a small six-pack. Ino blushed hard and got a little nosebleed. She then wiped away the blood and tried to get out of Naruto's grasp but couldn't, so she just decided to make do with it and cuddled up next to Naruto and placed her head on his chest. As Ino did this she began to feel the warmth radiating off of Naruto. This feels nice, Ino said as wrapped her arms around Naruto and drifted off to sleep. It was morning and the light from the rising sun was shining down onto Naruto. Naruto slowly opened his eyes because of the sunlight shining onto his eyes. He then felt someone on his chest and he lifted his covers to see who it was. When he fully lifted the covers, he was shocked to see Ino. She was cuddled up closely next to him with her arms wrapped around him tightly. Naruto tried to get out of her grasp, but Ino just tightened her hold on him, making it impossible for him to escape now, and snuggled closer to him. Naruto just gave up and slowly went back to sleep. As he went back to sleep, he thought, I might as well and enjoy this while it lasts. It's not every day I get to cuddle next to a beautiful girl, Naruto thought. Before he closed his eyes and let sleep take him, he thought about how mad Ino was going to be when she woke up. A few hours had passed by since Naruto woke up and saw Ino cuddled up next to him. Both Ino and Naruto were woken up by the sound of laughter. They both woke up immediately and looked around the room. Their eyes finally landed on Shikamaru and Asuma laughing. Both Naruto and Ino blushed slightly at being caught in a compromising position. I'm really glad that I took a picture of that, Asuma said as he was laughing while putting away a camera he had with him. So, are my two little genins becoming a couple? Asuma said as he regained his composure and looked at Ino and Naruto. Both Naruto and Ino blushed a little bit more before Ino answered. Well, only if Whiskers here will have me, Ino says as she blushes more. This caused Naruto to faint completely and fall off the bed. Asuma laughs a little bit before picking the unconscious Naruto up. Asuma walked downstairs with the unconscious Naruto and entered the bathroom. Asuma then placed Naruto into the bathtub and turned the cold water shower on and left. Naruto immediately woke up when the cold water hit him. He then proceeded to take off his wet clothes and begin to take a nice, long, warm shower. What the hell was all that about Ino? Shikamaru asked as soon as Asuma left with Naruto. What do you mean, Shika? Ino asked with confusion edged into her voice. What I mean is, in this past time we spent here training, Naruto has become one of my friends and I don't want to see him get hurt, Shikamaru said as he looked at Ino. Ino then glares at Shikamaru before responding. You think I want to hurt him? I don't. He has also become one of my friends during the time we've been training together. Hopefully one day he'll be more than that, Ino said with a whispered shout while glaring at Shikamaru. After Ino calmed down a bit, she started to speak again. During the night I woke to screams. I had realized that they were coming from Naruto and I went over to him to comfort him. I decided to rub his cheek to comfort him because when I have a nightmare my mom does the same thing for me. When I was rubbing his cheek I rubbed his whiskers and he started to purr. It was the cutest thing I have ever seen. After I thought he calmed down I went to go back to my bed, but he grabbed me and pulled me next to him. I tried to get out of his grasp but I couldn't, so I decided to snuggle up next to him. I tell you this though, his body radiates heat. I felt so warm and comfortable that I fell asleep. It was the best sleep I've ever had in a long time. So I don't want to hurt him, and from I heard he hasn't had it easy. Ino said as Shikamaru sat theirs. Maybe we should do something for him if it isn't too troublesome to do so, Shikamaru said with a sigh. Yeah, you're right, Shika, we should totally do something for him, Ino said with excitement. After a while, everyone had gotten ready for the next day of training and went outside. Alright, since Shikamaru has to take it easy for a week, we will do the next chakra control exercise, Asuma said as he looked over his genin. This will be the water walking exercise, so I recommend that you guys go put on your swimsuits, you'll need them, Asuma said. After Naruto, Ino, and Shikamaru had gotten into their swimsuits, they all met on the beach of the lake waiting for Asuma. Shikamaru was wearing sky blue swim trunks with clouds on them. Naruto was wearing just plain orange swim trunks. Ino was wearing a two-piece lime green bathing suit. Naruto looked over at Ino and saw her in her bathing suit. Ino caught Naruto staring at her. You like what you see, Whiskers? Ino giggled. Naruto started to turn a bright red color and almost fainted again, but Shikamaru walked up to him and slapped some sense into him. Naruto snapped out of it. You can't start blushing and faint every time Ino bats an eye at you, Shikamaru told Naruto before turning to Ino. Do you have to keep doing these troublesome things? Naruto is a friend and a teammate, Ino. You can't keep doing that, Ino, Shikamaru said sternly. Shika, I'm doing this for his own good. Yes, I'm his teammate and I probably shouldn't do that, but if some enemy kunoichi did this, I may have not been happy to be placed on the same team as you two at first, but now that I'm here now I want to do everything I can for this team. I do it to Naruto because I don't want some dumb kunoichi bitch to bat her eyes or show Naruto something to get him flustered and kill him, Ino cried out. Shikamaru just stood there, rooted to his spot not knowing what to say. Naruto had recovered and got up and went straight to Ino and hugged her tightly. Ino blushed, feeling his well-toned chest against hers. After a bit, Naruto broke the hug and faced his two teammates. Do you guys really think of me as a friend? Naruto asked. Both Ino and Shikamaru said yes in unison. I only tell my close friends this. So after you hear this you can decide if you still want to be my friends, Naruto said as Ino and Shikamaru's grew concerned slightly. So you guys know about the Nine Tails attack on the village 12 years ago, right? Naruto asked and both Ino and Shikamaru nodded in unison. Well, the fourth Hokage didn't kill it. The Nine Tails is a beast made completely of chakra and can't be killed, and the only option is to seal it into something. So the fourth Hokage sealed it all into a baby. That baby was me, Naruto said as he looked down at the ground. You guys probably hate me now and think I'm a demon, Naruto said with sadness. Naruto do think we're stupid. We can tell you're not the nine-tailed fox. You are my friend and teammate. You might be a troublesome blonde but you are not the Nine Tails, Shikamaru said as he placed a hand on Naruto's shoulder reassuringly. Yeah, Whiskers, you're not the fox. You're my teammate, friend, and sometimes a body pillow if needed, but you are not the fox. To hell with all the villager that think that you are the fox. We're a team and I'll stand by you and Shikamaru no matter what, Ino said as she grabbed Naruto's hand and gave it a reassuring squeeze. Thanks, guys, it means a lot coming from you too, Naruto said as he was on the brink of tears as he pulled everyone into a group hug. Asuma was in the shadow of the trees and witnessed the whole thing happen right in front of him. They are now a full-fledged team, Asuma said with pride in his voice. He then stepped out of the tree's shadows. Naruto, Ino, and Shikamaru saw Asuma and broke the group hug. Asuma smiled as he walked up to his team. Once he arrived in front of them he began. Alright, today we're going to do the water walking exercise. This is harder than the tree exercise because the water is always constantly shifting while the tree remains still. You'll need to constantly change the amount of chakra you're applying to your feet in order to stay on the surface of the water. Asuma started. Alright, start. Asuma shouted and Ino and Shikamaru started to walk on the water but fell in almost immediately. Naruto smirked and crossed his fingers. Shadow Clone Jutsu. Naruto shouted as 1,000 more Narutos came out of the smoke. Naruto then ran onto the water to start the exercise. Naruto, Shikamaru, and Ino had been practicing water walking for 2 days now. Asuma was very impressed with the progress his team was making. Normally it would take other genin more than a week to master this, but they did it in 2 days. He knew that as time goes on he would be met with surprise after surprise as he trained them. He knew in his head that this team was going to become a really strong team. Okay guys, I have to go report back in with my father on your progress. It's up to you to keep training on what you learned to improve it. Don't get hurt and especially, don't kill each other, Asuma said as he grabbed his bag and left the cabin, heading in the direction of the Leaf Village. The genin members of Team 10 just stood in the cabin in complete silence after Asuma left. Welp, I'm going to go train so I'll see you guys later, Naruto said as he waved to them as he left the cabin to go train. After Naruto left, silence filled the cabin for a few moments before Ino spoke up. So, Ino dragged out. What? Shikamaru asked, turning to Ino. We should do something nice for Naruto, Ino said, breaking the semi-awkward silence. Yeah, we could. It's still early so we could go down to that town that's near here and get him something for his birthday that was like 4 months ago, Shikamaru suggested lazily. That's a good idea, Shika. Quickly, let's get a move on, Ino demanded as she ran to the cabin's entrance. Okay, but just don't be so troublesome, Ino, Shikamaru said with a slight smile as he ran after his teammate. They left the cabin in a hurry to get stuff for Naruto's birthday. Once they arrived in the town they quickly set out looking for gifts they could give Naruto. They decided to split up to look for their gifts, deciding that it would be quicker if they did. What should I get Naruto? Shikamaru said in his mind. After thinking for a bit Shikamaru let out a sigh of frustration. This is troublesome, Shikamaru thought. Shikamaru continued to walk through the town with his hands in his pocket, searching for a gift. As Shikamaru walked throughout the town, he just happened to glance over at a store's window and saw something that piqued his interest. Shikamaru walked over to the window and saw a tanto blade next to a brown harness that he assumed would hold the blade. Shikamaru walked into the store and purchased the tanto blade and the harness. The store owner also gave him a book on sealing for free. Shikamaru thanked the store owner and walked out of the store. After a few more hours had passed, Shikamaru and Ino had made their way back to the cabin. Both had their gifts for Naruto and Ino had a cake as well. Alright, Shika, here's the plan. I'm going to make my mom's special ramen dish for dinner and it takes about an hour to make it. So what I need you to do is go and distract Naruto for an hour so I have time to make the ramen, Ino instructed. Shikamaru nodded and headed off to distract Naruto. After Shikamaru had left, Ino put the cake in the fridge and began making the ramen. As the ramen was coming close to being done, Ino set the table for dinner. After she set the table, she returned to the ramen she was making to see that it was done. As Ino was serving the ramen, she heard the door open. She looked up from what she was doing to see Naruto and Shikamaru coming in with sweat and dirt on them. What happened to you two? Ino questioned as she put the pot back on the stove and placed her hands on her hips. We did a little light sparring, Naruto answered. After answering Ino's question, Naruto looked at the table to see that Ino had made dinner. Ino smiles at Naruto before speaking. I know your birthday was 4 months ago, but me and Shika wanted to wish you a happy late birthday and say that we're glad that you're our teammate, Ino explained. Thank you guys, this means a lot to me, Naruto said happily. Good, now go change and freshen up immediately. You both stink from training, Ino demanded. Both Naruto and Shikamaru's sweat dropped at the complete 180 Ino did as they headed off to go clean themselves and change. After Shikamaru and Naruto had returned to the dining table after cleaning themselves and changing into new clothes, they began eating the food in front of them. I've never really had ramen before, but this is really good, Ino. Where did you learn to make this? Shikamaru asked. Naruto looked at Shikamaru like he was crazy for not trying the food of the gods before. Ino answered. It's my mom's special ramen. She showed me how to make it when I was a little girl. I just followed the instructions, Ino answered as she ate her food. This is super good, Ino-chan. I love it, Naruto said as his eyes gleamed like stars. Ino blushed at Naruto's comment. Well, thank you, Foxy-kun, Ino teased. Naruto blushed before returning to stuffing his face with ramen. Troublesome blondes, Shikamaru said in his mind. Once they had finished dinner and after the dishes were placed in the sink, Ino and Shikamaru gave Naruto the gifts they bought him. Shikamaru gave Naruto his gift first. Naruto looked the tanto blade over and unsheathed it and gave it a couple of swings before sheathing it and placing it on the table. The shop owner said that the sword was made from a high grade of chakra metal that's basically indestructible, Shikamaru said as he handed Naruto the book on sealing. Next was Ino's gifts. Naruto unwrapped the box Ino had given him and saw that it had 2 pairs of clothes in it. On top of the clothes was a picture frame that held the picture of Team 10 from when they were just put together. Naruto started to tear up but quickly stopped it as he looked up at his teammates. Thank you guys for all these amazing gifts, I love them. I'm so glad that I was placed on Team 10. I don't know what my life would be like if I was placed on another team, Naruto said as he hugged Ino and Shikamaru tightly. The night went on, they talked about their time there while they ate the cake. After a while they all went to bed. In the middle of the night, Ino was awoken by the sound of crying. She immediately looked towards Naruto and saw him curled up in a ball, crying. She looked around and saw that Shikamaru's bed was empty. She assumed that he went somewhere else to sleep. Ino got out of her bed quickly and made her way over to Naruto's side. Ino gently patted Naruto's shoulders and he opened his water-filled eyes to look into Ino's light blue ones. What's wrong, Naruto? This is the second time you've cried on this trip. What's wrong? Ino asked, her voice full of concern. It's nothing, Ino-chan, just go back to bed, Naruto said as he rolled back over. I know you're not telling me the truth, Naruto. Now, tell me what's wrong. I'm just trying to help, Ino said with desperation in her voice. After a few moments of silence between Naruto and Ino, she decided to look for herself. Fine, Naruto, if that's how you want to play this, then fine. I'll just force you to tell me, Ino said as she quickly weaved a few hand signs and cast her jutsu, mind transfer jutsu, Ino said in her head as she entered Naruto's mind. Ino found herself in a hallway that looked like a sewer. As she walked through the hallway she noticed that the further she went the more black doors she saw. She remembered her dad telling her that black doors represent a person's bad moments or memories. How the hell can someone have this many black doors? Ino asked in her head. Guess I'll have to see what's behind door number 1, Ino said as she opened and entered a door that was next to her. Once she entered the door she saw a 5-year-old Naruto running from a group of villagers on his birthday. She saw the angry mob chase Naruto around, and as Naruto ran from them a ninja from the group threw a kunai and it stabbed Naruto's leg. Oh my god, what are they going to do to Naruto? Ino said in her head as she watched with a sense of dread creeping up in her. Get that demon child, one of the villagers shouted with anger. Ino watched in horror as the villagers started to beat and stab the 5-year-old Naruto. I can't believe people would do this to a child, Ino said as she was crying. She ran out of the room back into Naruto's mind. She continued to run until she arrived in a large space with large barred doors in front of her. Ino looked up at the cage and saw red eyes with slits staring down at her. Behind the bars in the cage was a massive fox with 9 tails. So, you're the one digging around his mind, said a demonic that sent a shiver down Ino's spine. Yeah, so what it's to you, you stupid fox. It's your fault that Naruto's suffered all throughout his young life. As if I care about this human, I'm going to take control of his body, then I'm going to destroy that puny village and kill anyone he cares about, starting with you. Ino saw the fox reach through the bars with a massive paw. The fox tried to smash Ino, but the jutsu had ended just before the fox could kill Ino. Ino blinked a few times and saw that Naruto was still crying. Naruto, please don't cry anymore. I'm here for you now and I'm not going anywhere. I'll protect you from the villagers and I won't let the fox take over your body. We'll stop him together, Ino said. Naruto dried his eyes before he faced Ino. Okay Ino, I believe you. I'm just so afraid that I'll end up by myself again. I just can't be alone anymore, Naruto said. You're not alone anymore, you have me. I won't you be alone ever again, Ino said. What about Sasuke? I thought you loved him, Naruto said in a questionable tone. I've come to realize he isn't interested in girls right now, he's too interested in himself. I've also come to realize that I don't want a man that only thinks about himself all the time. I want a man that has love and passion. I want a man that when I flirt with him he reacts and gets flustered, making me feel why. Most importantly, I've realized that I want to be with you Naruto, and if everything works out, we could have little blonde-haired babies. You really like me? Naruto asked happily. I don't like you. I love you. Now move over, my bed is cold now and I hate cold beds. Naruto moved over and made room for Ino. She got into the bed and cuddled up next to him. She gave Naruto a quick kiss on his cheek, and not long after they fell asleep. Shikamaru walked back into the room after coming back from the bathroom and listening to their conversation. Troublesome blondes. Shikamaru huffed as he made his way back to his bed and went back to sleep. Another few weeks had passed since that night Ino and Naruto shared. Ever since then, their relationship has grown and Ino and Naruto have grown closer with each day that had passed since that night. After those few weeks had passed, Team 10 and their sensei had to head home. Ino was very excited to return home because then Naruto would meet her parents. She had talked about him meeting her parents 2 days before they returned back to the Leaf. Naruto was a little terrified to meet them but wasn't scared. Ino reassured him that they wouldn't care if he had the 9 tails inside of him. They would only care if he loved her, which he did. They woke early the morning they were supposed to leave and began to pack all their things. Once they were all packed and ready to go they left the cabin. The place where when they arrived they didn't like each other much but were leaving it as a team with a couple in it to be precise. It didn't take them that long to get to the front gates of the Leaf Village because they were definitely way faster than before. When they had arrived at the gates of the village, Asuma turned around so that he could speak to his team. Okay guys, take the weekend off, you deserve it. Meet me at Training Ground 10 Monday morning, so I'll see you then, Asuma said as he waved at them before he flickered away to the front of the Hokage mansion. Asuma made his way into the building and walked past the secretary who gave him a smile that he returned. He knocked on the door that led to his father's office and waited for permission to enter. Once he received an "enter" from inside the room he entered. Once inside the office, he took a seat in one of the chairs that sat in front of the Hokage's desk. So Asuma, how's your team and where are their skills at after your boot camp? Hiruzen asked as he looked up from the paper in his hand. Well dad, the team is very skilled. Shikamaru has an IQ of over 200 and I have his skills at low chunin. As for Ino, we finally broke her out of her fangirl stage. Now she wants to train a lot more and even has amazing chakra control. As for Naruto, he's the heart of the team. He's come so far in such a short amount of time and is the strongest member on the team. He grabbed his jaw as he continued, and he's got one hell of a right hook. He has 2 chakra natures, wind and lightning. I taught him all the wind jutsu I know, but I'll have to get Kakashi to give me some lightning jutsu though, Asuma said as he finished his report on his team's training mission. Amazing, this is very good news. How are Naruto's teammates treating him? Hiruzen asked. Well, Shikamaru and Naruto have become really close friends, Asuma said and was going to continue but was interrupted by Hiruzen. What about Ino? The old man asked. Well, Naruto and Ino aren't friends, Asuma said. That's a shame. At least Naruto has one friend, Hiruzen said, a little saddened. I wasn't finished. Naruto and Ino aren't friends because they're dating, so they're more than friends, Asuma said as he smiled, thinking about the 2 genin. Really, Hiruzen said with surprise, I wouldn't have expected that to happen. I just hope that no one tells either Shikamaru or Ino about the 9 tails sealed inside of Naruto. I don't want them to treat him badly, Hiruzen said. Well, Asuma started as he started to rub the back of his neck in nervousness. They know about the 9 tails but they're okay with it, Asuma explained. Well, I'm not happy that they know about the 9 tails, but if they don't care then I won't either, Hiruzen said as he blew out smoke. Back at village gates just as Asuma flickered away. Damn it, I wished he'd show me how to do that, Naruto whined. Troublesome, Shikamaru said as he yawned and then left to go to his house. I'm sure Asuma will show us how to do that soon, Whiskers, Ino reassured Naruto. Now come on. Let's go drop your stuff off at your place so you can come to meet my parents, Ino sweet-talked him. Naruto and Ino made their way to his apartment while holding hands. On the way there they received confused glances but they didn't really care about that. Once they arrived at Naruto's apartment, Naruto unlocked the door with his key and let Ino in first. Such a gentleman, Foxy-kun, Ino teased. Naruto blushed slightly before entering the apartment and closing the door behind him. Alright, I'm going to go take a shower and change, sound good? Naruto said to Ino. Sounds good, Ino said as she looked around the apartment. Naruto had gone into his room and got out his nicest clothes and headed to the bathroom to shower. On his way, Ino teased him by saying, "Want me to join you?" Naruto blushed hard and quickly entered the bathroom to take his shower. After waiting for a few minutes, Naruto stepped out of the bathroom wearing black slacks with an orange dress shirt. Naruto looked at his beautiful girlfriend before asking, "Well, what do you think?" "You look great, Whiskers, but one thing," Ino said as she gestured to the rest of his apartment. "We're going to have to clean this place up over the weekend. No boyfriend of mine is going to live in filth. After that, we'll go shopping for some new clothes for you." "You need more clothes that aren't all orange," Ino stated. "That seems like to Mew," Naruto started but Ino stopped him by saying one sentence. "We'll get ramen afterward," Ino said, knowing that ramen was his weak point. "You should have led with that, Ino-chan," Naruto shouted excitedly. Naruto and Ino left the apartment holding hands and started to make their way to Ino's house to meet Ino's parents. As they were walking through the streets they came across Sakura. "Oh my god, you finally realized that Sasuke and I were going to be together, so you settled for the dead last idiot at that," Sakura said, snickering. "He's not the dead last anymore, Sakura. He's stronger than Sasuke and could easily beat him. He may be an idiot sometimes, but he's my idiot. So leave me and my boyfriend alone." Billboard brow, Ino said. She was angered that Sakura dares to insult Naruto. He's probably one of the strongest genin out of their class. He's come close to beating Asuma before and even forced him to use his chakra-enhanced trench blades when he was using his Tanto blade. "Like that loser could beat Sasuke-kun," Sakura said. "I beat he does, Sakura," Ino yelled. "Like that Dobi could ever beat someone like me," Sasuke said as he came out of literally nowhere. At this point, even Naruto was pissed. "Oh, I know I can beat you," Naruto growled. "Alright Dobi, let's do this. I teach you how to respect your betters. Don't forget, I'm an elite and you're nothing and you'll always be nothing," Sasuke said. Naruto had to hold Ino back from attacking him. He told her that he'll take care of it. They made their way to a training ground that was empty. Both Sakura and Ino stood at the edge of the clearing to watch the fight. Naruto was holding Naruto's shirt so that it didn't get dirty. She was blushing madly at Naruto's well-toned, muscular, bare chest. Naruto got into his fighting stance and waited for Sasuke to come at him. Asuma taught him to not always rush into a fight and to wait for your opponent to make the first move. Sasuke got fed up with waiting, so he attacked first and threw a punch. Even with all the weights Naruto had on him, he was too fast for Sasuke. He kept either dodging or catching the things Sasuke threw at him. "This has gone on long enough," Naruto said. Naruto aimed a strike for Sasuke's solar plexus and hit it dead on. That caused Sasuke to lose his breath and fall to his knees as the wind got knocked out of him. "This fight is over, Uchiha. So much for being an elite. I was looking for a challenge," Naruto said as he started to laugh and make his way back to Ino. "You will always be a dobi and a dead last, and now I'll teach you and your demon slut a lesson," Sasuke shouted at Naruto as he started weaving hand signs for a jutsu, fire style, Great Fireball. Sasuke started but didn't get past halfway before Naruto appeared behind him instantly and chopped his neck, knocking him out. "If you ever attack or insult me or Ino again, I will not hesitate to kill you, Sasuke," Naruto said as he proceeded to make his way to Ino again. Naruto was surprised when Ino ran past him, so he turned around and saw that Sakura was about to punch him, but Ino blocked it. "If you ever try to put your hands on my man again, I'll send you to the hospital. Got that forehead?" Ino yelled as she threw Sakura's hand away. She then turned around and jumped into the shirtless Naruto's arms and kissed him passionately. After the kiss they shared, Naruto put his shirt back on, and after he finished that he said, "That was one hell of a homecoming, Yano." After the fight Naruto had with Sasuke, him and Ino were making their way to Ino's house so that Naruto could meet Ino's parents. After a bit of walking through the streets, they had finally arrived at the entrance to Ino's house. "You ready, Naruto?" Ino asked before opening the door. "I was born ready, Ino-chan, believe it," Naruto said nervously. Ino just smiled at Naruto before opening the door and entering the Yamanaka household. When they walked into the house they were greeted by Ino's mother, Sabine Yamanaka. Sabine basically looked like an older version of Ino. "Princess, you're home." Sabine walked up to Ino, greeting before she then spotted Naruto. "Oh, and who's this?" Sabine asked her daughter as her eye traveled down their arms and saw that her daughter was holding hands with the boy. How cute. Ino found herself a boy, a hot little blonde one at that. I wonder what his mother would say if she saw this right now. Probably somewhere along the lines of, "Oh my god, I'm going to get little blonde-haired grandbabies." She would freak out if she saw this, Sabine thought after she thoroughly embarrassed Ino. "Mom, you know this is Naruto. Stop trying to act cute, and just to let you know, he is my boyfriend," Ino said, a little annoyed with her mother for trying to embarrass her in front of Naruto. "Sorry dear, I just couldn't help but tease you. But I am glad that you lost that fangirl part of yourself," Sabine said before turning to Naruto. "Well Naruto, I hope you can make a mother proud and take really good care of Ino." "Okay," Sabine said to Naruto. "I plan on doing just that, Mrs. Yamanaka," Naruto replied. "See that you do. Also, you don't have to be so formal with me, Naruto. Calling me Sabine will be just fine, dear," Sabine said, smiling before she continued. "Well, you should probably speak to your father Ino and tell him the good news. He should be out in the gardens," Sabine said. "Thanks, Mom, we'll do just that," Ino said as she basically just dragged Naruto along with her. "Well Kushina, it looks like our dream is coming true. My daughter and your son in a relationship. God, I wish you were here to see this," Sabine said in her head as she watched Ino drag Naruto out to the gardens. Ino ran up to her father, who was tending to some flowers, with Naruto in tow. She finally gave Naruto his hand back as she launched herself at her father. "Hey daddy, I missed you so much, but I have something I have to tell you," Ino said as she broke the hug with her father. Ino went back to Naruto's side as Inoichi stood up and turned around to face his daughter. "Well, what is it, dear?" Inoichi asked. "Well daddy, during our training trip or boot camp or whatever it's called, Asuma-sensei said I like Naruto, and he was right because he's my boyfriend now," Ino said as she looked at Naruto with a loving gaze. "Well, you are old enough to decide who you do and don't date, so I trust your decision is a good one. From what I hear from the Hokage, he's a pretty good kid, besides the pranks he pulled, but those were harmless," Inoichi said before turning to Naruto. Just be good to my daughter Naruto, that's all I ask, and you don't have to worry about that furball inside of you. I know you're not the fox, Inoichi said. Thank you, sir, I won't let you down, believe it. Naruto said excitedly as he shouted the last part. All of a sudden, an Anbu wearing a lamb mask flickered behind Naruto and struck his neck, knocking him unconscious. Don't touch my boyfriend, Ino screamed as she ran to Naruto to free him, but the Anbu flickered away with Naruto before Ino or Inoichi could do anything. Naruto! Ino screamed in anguish as she fell down to her knees, crying. Ino's father went to Ino and crouched down next to her and comforted her. Don't worry Ino, I'll go see the Hokage about this. We'll get him back, I promise, Inoichi said as he placed his hand on Ino's shoulder and gave it a reassuring squeeze. Inoichi then picked up his crying daughter and flickered into the house and placed her in a chair. Sabine came rushing over when she saw that Ino was crying. What happened? Sabine asked. Anbu took Naruto, was all Inoichi said as he flickered away to the Hokage's office. Inoichi, after body flickering, stood in front of the Hokage. Ah Inoichi, what can I do for you? The aged Hokage asked. Well, my daughter has just returned home today from her training mission and told me that she was dating Naruto. Which I'm happy to hear because Naruto's a good kid, I know that. But as Ino is telling me this, an Anbu just appeared out of nowhere, knocked Naruto out, arrested him, and flickered away without explaining himself. Now my daughter is in tears and my wife is doing God knows what to the house. I just want to know why Naruto was arrested, Inoichi explained. I have not ordered anything of that sort to be done, Hiruzen said. Anbu! He yelled out, and 3 Anbu, each with a different animal mask on, appeared right in front of him and Inoichi. What can we do for you, sir? One of the Anbu said respectively. Why was Naruto Uzumaki arrested and why the hell was I not informed? Hiruzen yelled angrily. Lord Hokage, sir, it was a direct order from the council themselves. Naruto Uzumaki is being court-martialed as we speak, another Anbu said. Order from the council? Why was I not informed? Inoichi demanded. I don't know why Inoichi, but we're about to find out, the old man said. Naruto woke up to find out he's been chained to a chair that was in a dark room with one single light above him. He looked around the dark room the best he could before his eyes landed on 5 people in front of him. One was an old woman who he didn't recognize, Sasuke, Sakura, and Sakura's mother Mebuki. He looked around the room again to see how he could escape, but the old woman stepped forward into the light and started to speak. So boy, you have been charged with the crimes of attacking a fellow Leaf Shinobi and a Shinobi council member. How do you plead? The woman stated before she asked Naruto her question. I did no such thing. Let me go you bastards. Naruto shouted. We will do no such thing boy. It doesn't matter what you plead because you've been found guilty and the punishment for your crimes is death, the mysterious old woman said. Just after the old woman finished speaking, Hiruzen, Inoichi, and a few Anbu loyal only to the Hokage bust through the door. I demand to know what is going on here, Hiruzen shouted. The old woman turned to Hiruzen before answering, this one has traitor on trial. 1. None of you have the power to put a shinobi on trial, that falls to me and only me. Secondly, you can't have the Anbu arrest anyone you want without going through me first. And thirdly, you can't sentence anyone you want to death. You're not the Hokage, damn it. I am, Hiruzen yelled angrily. I'm sorry Sarutobi, but this must be done. He attacked his fellow Leaf Shinobi Sasuke and Sakura. He must be punished, the old lady replied coolly. Well, if Naruto did attack Sasuke and Sakura with malicious intent, then he will be punished accordingly. I just want to find out what happened. If I find out you're lying, then I won't just kick you off the council, but I'll kick everyone else off the council. Do you understand this, Kaharu? Hiruzen said. I understand Hirushin, but I know I'm right, Kaharu said definitely. Well then, Inoichi, why don't you search Naruto's mind and find out what happened, Hiruzen said. Right away Lord Hokage, Inoichi said as he walked over to Naruto. You okay Naruto? Inoichi asked. I'm alright, but how's Ino? Naruto asked, his voice full of concern. She'll be better when we get you out of here, Inoichi said as he placed his hand on Naruto's head and closed his eyes as he started to search Naruto's memories for the event. Once Inoichi was finished, he opened his eyes and without turning away from Naruto, reported what he found out. Naruto's memories showed me that he was on his way to our house with Ino when Sasuke demanded to fight Naruto. Naruto won the fight, but when his back was turned, Sasuke attempted to use what looked like a B-rank fire jutsu, but he was knocked out by Naruto before he could launch his jutsu, Inoichi reported. Inoichi, take Naruto to your home and I'll take care of the rest, Hiruzen said. Yes sir, Inoichi replied as he undid Naruto's chains and picked him up and flickered back to his house. A couple of minutes later, after Inoichi got Naruto out of wherever he was at, the both of them were walking down the streets of Konoha. Why don't you join us for dinner tonight, Naruto? I'm sure with all that happened Ino will want to see you as soon as possible, but we're going to have to stop by your apartment first for new clothes for dinner, Inoichi said. Thank you Mr. Yamanaka. I would love to join you and your family for dinner tonight, Naruto said smiling. I also want to thank you for helping me out earlier, Naruto started, then looked down. Only a few people have actually helped me before. Really? If you don't mind me asking, who were the people that did help you? Inoichi asked. Well, you, your wife, Ino, Shikamaru, Hinata, Asuma-sensei, the old man that owns Ichiraku, his daughter Ayame, old man Hokage, and 3 Anbu called Inu, Neko, Hebi. That's it, those are all the names of all the people who have ever helped me out in some way or was kind to me, Naruto said as he happily recalled each name. I am truly sorry Naruto. You should never have gone through that, Inoichi said. Before Naruto could ask him what he meant, they arrived at Naruto's apartment building. The both of them looked on in horror as they saw that the building was ablaze. Naruto dropped down to his knees, tears falling freely down his face. I don't know what to do now. All of the things I owned were in there, Naruto said through his sobs. Inoichi looked at Naruto, then looked at the fire and then back to Naruto. I can't leave him on the streets, can I? Inoichi thought as he debated with himself. His father was my best friend and his wife was my wife's best friend. If I leave him here, then I have no doubt that Kushina will find some way back to the land of the living to beat me to death. That thought scared him the most. After a few short seconds later he got an idea. Naruto, Inoichi said as he got Naruto's attention. I know this situation sucks right now, but why don't you come to stay with us? I'll replace your things like your clothes and your ninja tools, and in return, you can come work at the shop on a couple of your days off, Inoichi suggested. You would really do that for me, why? Naruto said as he got up from the ground and wiped away the rest of his tears. I'll tell you someday and you'll understand then. Okay, Inoichi said as Naruto nodded his head in agreement. After another few minutes, Naruto and Inoichi had arrived back at the house. Inoichi opened the door and walked in, and before Naruto could enter, Ino had tackled him and hugged him tightly while giving him a kiss. What happened? Ino asked. I thought you were going to die. I got really upset at the thought of losing you, Ino confessed while still hugging Naruto. Before Naruto could answer Ino's questions, Inoichi stepped up. Naruto can tell you about what happened later, Inoichi said as he handed Ino 10,000 ryo. I need you to take him shopping, okay princess. He needs new clothes and ninja gear, Inoichi said. Ino had never been so happy in her life, except for when she became Naruto's girlfriend because she got to dress her boyfriend up. Ino immediately grabbed Naruto's hand and dragged him out to shop. Naruto was frozen with fear because of what Ino will make him try on. On that note, they left the house and Inoichi looked at his wife. So Naruto will be staying here with us for the foreseeable future, so can you go prepare a guest room for him, please? He's also going to be working at the shop to work of the money used to buy his new clothes and gear, Inoichi explained to his wife. Sabine looked at her husband with a funny face. So you're just going to let the boyfriend of our daughter move in right across from her? Sabine asked. Yes, I am. The first reason is that someone has burned his apartment building down to the ground completely. The second reason is I know for a fact that if the roles were reversed and it was Minato and Kushina in our positions and Ino in Naruto's, they probably would have brought her in without giving it a second thought. Also, the third reason is if we don't, I have no doubt that Kushina will come back to the land of the living and kill me, Inoichi said. Haha, I guess she would do just that. I guess you're right, plus I get to know my son-in-law a little bit better now, Sabine said. Sabine, you know I don't like that marriage contract you and Kushina forced Minato to make. If they are truly meant for one another, then they will be together. I don't want to use something like that and you know it, Inoichi said. Sabine just kept giggling while she made her way to the guest bedroom to get it ready for Naruto while Inoichi went into the kitchen and started on dinner for that night. After 3 hours of shopping, which consisted of Ino forcing Naruto to try on different kinds of clothes for his new ninja outfit and such, they returned home. They had bought a few pairs of black shinobi sandals along with other ninja tools he needed. They also got 6 pairs of black Anbu pants, 6 black t-shirts, a new jacket, like the one from Shippuden, and a pair of dark orange fingerless gloves. Ino also had Naruto get a fancy black suit so that they could go out to fancy places on dates. "So you're really going to let Naruto stay here, Daddy?" Ino asked as she took a bite from her food. "Yes, I am. Naruto's going to be working with you at the shop in your off time, so you're going to have to show him the ropes, okay?" Inoichi said. "Thank you so much for letting him stay, Daddy. You're the best," Ino said happily. "No problem, Pumpkin," Inoichi said as he turned to face Naruto, "and Naruto, please respectful of my daughter, please. That's all I ask," Inoichi said. "I will, sir, believe it," Naruto said as he ate the rest of his dinner. Later that night Naruto got ready for bed. He looked around his new room and saw that it was way bigger than his old bedroom along with the bed. Naruto lay down in his bed and he immediately loved it. To him, it was like laying on a cloud. He started to fall asleep when he felt something or someone curl up next to him. He looked over to his right and of course, it was Ino. "Ino, what are you doing?" Naruto questioned the blonde laying down next to him. "I don't want your dad getting mad at me. He's been so kind to me, I don't want to break his trust," Naruto said as the blonde next to him looked up at him. "Naruto, you know I can't sleep without you being my pillow. Besides, as long as we don't do anything more than what we're doing now, he won't get mad. We're still too young for that anyways. Go to sleep, and also Naruto, I love you," Ino said with a closed eye smile. "I love you too, Ino," Naruto said as he kissed Ino's nose before falling asleep. Little did both of them know Inochichi and Sabine were in the room under an invisible genjutsu. As the two of them exited the room, they were happy, but for different reasons. For Sabine, it was that the plan she and Kushina made was going according to plan. For Inoichi, he was happy because his little girl was in a relationship with a respectful man. The next few weeks were filled with them doing nothing but D-rank missions, which Naruto and Ino didn't mind much, and working at the flower shop. It was also filled with dates between the two blondes. They both just loved the time they got to spend with each other. Then one day there was a knock on the front door of the house. Ino and Naruto were discussing where to go on their next date when Inoichi opened the door. It revealed that it was Kaharu along with some of the other council members. "Councilwoman Kaharu, to what do I owe the pleasure of this visit?" Inoichi said exaggeratedly and dryly. Either Kaharu didn't hear the sarcasm in Inoichi's voice or just didn't care because she gave no sign of either. "Inoichi," Kaharu started with an official-sounding voice, "your daughter has been chosen to be one of the many brides for Sasuke Uchiha for his CRA to bring the Uchiha clan numbers back up in the village," Kaharu said. "I am sorry, Kaharu, but my daughter will be doing no such thing. I never wanted her to be with that boy, let alone have kids with him. Besides, you are no longer on the council as Lord Hokage's advisors, you have no power. You cannot take her," Inoichi stated. "This is not a discussion, Inoichi. The council has already made its decision and even the Hokage is in favor of this. You will turn her over to us by tomorrow or you will be thrown into prison," Kaharu said as she turned around and walked off. Ino's heart shattered. She could even think about being with anyone else besides Naruto. Ino just hugged Naruto and started to let the warm, salty tears flow freely down her cheeks. Naruto's eyes flashed red for a second in anger. He looked like he was going to kill someone. Sabine looked at him and he could tell what she was thinking, and it involved the biggest frying pan she could find. Inoichi just flickered to the Hokage's office without saying a word. Inoichi then appeared in the Hokage's office mere seconds after leaving his house. "Ah, Inoichi, what can I do for you today?" Hiruzen asked. "Well, I would like to know why some of the new council members just appeared at my doorstep and demanded I had Ino over to them so that she could be put into Sasuke Uchiha's harem," Inoichi demanded. "So I see he chose Ino as well. Well, I'm not going to beat around the bush, there's not much you can do to stop this. With the council on Sasuke's side, I'm afraid it's out of my hands. I'm sorry, Inoichi." Unless you have her in a marriage contract signed and dated by the Hokage before Sasuke's CRA was put into action, the Hokage said. Well, I guess I'm in luck then. Even though I said I never wanted to use this, it looks like the situation calls for it. But it will mean that Naruto will be finding out about his parents, Inoichi said. What are you talking about, Inoichi? Hiruzen asked, confused. Well, just after Ino was born, Kushina was 8 months pregnant with Naruto. I was standing in this very office talking to Minato about something when my wife, who was carrying a 3-day-old Ino, kicked the door down and entered the room with Kushina in tow, with both of them demanding there be a marriage contract between Naruto and Ino just so that they could have blonde-haired, blue-eyed grandbabies. So I guess I'll just have to use it, Inoichi said, explaining what he was talking about. You're kidding me, Hiruzen said in disbelief. Nope, Inoichi said as he pulled out the scroll that contained the contract and tossed it to the Hokage. The Hokage looked the scroll over. Let me call Asuma here right before we do anything, the Hokage said. Just then Asuma flickered into the office. You called me dad, he asked. How strong is Naruto right now? Hiruzen asked his son. I would put him at a low Jonin level and high Jonin level after the Chunin exams, Asuma said. Do you think he could handle learning about his parents? Hiruzen asked. Yes, I think he's more than ready. Besides, if he learns his father's signature jutsus, then it will make him nearly impossible to beat, Asuma said with pride in his voice. Alright, Inoichi, go back to your house and tell Naruto about his parents. Then I'll summon you, Naruto, and your family for an emergency council meeting. It's about time the entire village learned the truth, the Hokage said. Inoichi had returned to his house and was relieved to find his house undamaged. Ino rushed at her father. Daddy, did you find a way out of the CRA for me? Ino asked. Yes, I did, but tell me, do you really love Naruto? Inoichi asked. I really do, but I don't see how that helps me, Ino said as she tilted her head in confusion. You will see. Naruto, can you come down here please? Inoichi said as he called out for Naruto. A second later he was at Ino's side. Okay, Naruto, I'm going to tell you about your parents? Inoichi asked. My parents? What do they have to do with this? Naruto asked confusedly. You will see, now let me finish. Your father's name was Minato Namikaze. He was known as the Yellow Flash or the Fourth Hokage. Your mother's name was Kushina Uzumaki. She was known as the Red Death or the Red Hot Habanero. Your parents were great people. Your father was my best friend and your mother was Sabine's best friend. A few days after Ino was born, my wife and your mother kicked down the door to the Hokage's office and demanded that we make a marriage contract between you two. I didn't like the idea, but if it made Ino's and your mother happy, then I didn't care. That contract is what's going to keep Sasuke away from Ino. So Naruto, I ask, do you love my daughter? So Naruto, I ask, do you love my daughter? Inoichi asked. Yes, I do. I love your daughter and I would protect her and do anything for her, Naruto said as he looked straight into Inoichi's eyes with a dead serious gaze. A big grin made its way across Inoichi's face. He could tell that Naruto was dead serious about protecting his daughter. I do have one question for you, sir, Naruto said. Fire away and please, call me Inoichi, Inoichi said. I wanted to ask you, did my parents love me? Naruto asked as tears threatened to fall down his cheeks. Ino pulled Naruto into a tight hug and gave him a kiss on his cheek in an attempt to get him to cheer him up. Naruto, your parents had nothing but love for you. They loved you very much ever since they found out they were going to have you, Inoichi said proudly. Naruto let his tears fall down his face as he sobbed. He wasn't crying in sadness, he was crying in happiness. For years he had wondered if his parents ever actually loved him. He finally knows that his parents had loved him with all their hearts. After crying for a few minutes, Naruto slowly stopped and wiped away the tears still in his eyes. Then he looked up in happiness. So about this marriage contract you told us about. Does that mean I get to marry Ino? Naruto asked Inoichi with happiness. Yes, you'll be marrying Ino, but not now. You'll be getting married when you turn 16 due to some law, but for now, you two are engaged, Inoichi said, and Naruto nodded in acknowledgement. Oh, and Naruto, Inoichi said, getting Naruto's attention again. All I want to say is that I'm really happy that you're marrying my Ino. I know you respect and love her. Your parents would be proud of the man you've become, Inoichi told Naruto proudly. See, Inoichi. Sabine started as she walked over to the table with something in her hands. And to think, for years you've been giving me grief about making that contract and here it is saving our daughter from that Uchiha. After Sabine finished, she handed Naruto the object she was holding and it turned out to be a picture of Naruto's parents. Naruto and Ino stared at the picture of Naruto's parents. They both looked happy in it. You could see Kushina was pregnant with Naruto as Minato hugged Kushina's stomach while Kushina herself placed her hands over her stomach. "Wow, you look like a carbon copy of your father and your mother was so beautiful," Ino said as she looked at the picture. "Thank you, Ino. But I need to ask you something," Naruto asked. "What is it, Whiskers?" Ino asked. "I wanted to ask you if you actually wanted to marry me." "I don't want to force you to do something that you don't want to do," Naruto said as he grabbed both of Ino's hands. "Of course I want to marry you. It doesn't matter who your parents were or any of that. I want to marry you because I love you," Ino said as she took her hands and placed them onto Naruto's cheeks, bringing him into a kiss. "Good, now that is out of the way, all four of us will be attending the council meeting in a bit and I want you to look your best," Inoichi said. "Oh, Naruto, I have some stuff to give you that your parents left for you," Sabine chirped happily. Naruto followed Sabine upstairs to her bedroom. Sabine goes to her closet and pulls out a small chest. "Your parents would want you to have this," Sabine said as she handed Naruto the small chest. Naruto sat down on the ground and opened the small chest and it revealed 2 scrolls. He took the first one and opened it, revealing his father's white cloak with red flames on the bottom and the symbols for yellow flash on the back. Naruto placed the cloak next to him and opened the next scroll. The scroll revealed a sheathed katana with a red handle. Naruto unsheathed it and revealed a black blade edged with chakra-enhanced diamonds. "That was your mother's katana. She called it Diamond Cutter because it's so sharp and would never dull. It can cut through almost anything and as an added bonus you can funnel chakra into it," Sabine said as she saw Naruto look the sword over. "It's beautiful," Naruto said. "It sure is, but it's getting late and we have to go to that council meeting. So go and get ready please," Sabine said as she ushered Naruto to his room to get ready. "Thank you, Mrs. Yamanaka," Naruto said as he turned around and thanked Sabine. "Hey, you will no longer call me anything but Mom since you're my soon-to-be son-in-law," Sabine said, smiling. "Sorry Mom," Naruto said as he returned a smile and closed his door to change. "That's better," Sabine said through the door. She started to love her new son-in-law more and more. Naruto laid on his bed for a few minutes staring at the picture of his parents, taking in everything. He looked at his father's cloak and the back to the picture, getting an idea. A few minutes later there was a knock at the door and Inoichi answered it. "Inoichi, you and your family members have been requested to appear in the council chambers. I am here to escort you," an Anbu in a Neko mask said. "Thank you Neko, we'll be right out," Inoichi said as Neko nodded and went to wait outside. "Sabine, Ino, Naruto, come on, it's time to go," Inoichi yelled. Just when Sabine met Inoichi at the door, they had to do a double take when they saw Naruto coming down the stairs. He was wearing black pants and a black long-sleeve shirt with his father's cloak on and his mother's sword strapped onto his back. Just imagine Minato when he was Hokage, but the blue clothes are black and without the flak jacket. "I guess you're going to make one hell of a statement, kid," Inoichi said as he laughed. Just then Ino came down in a beautiful white dress that was knee-length and her hair tied up into a single bun. She smiled as she came down the stairs. Naruto was speechless. The only word Naruto could say when Ino walked up to was, "Beautiful." Ino giggled and kissed her soon-to-be husband on the cheek. "Let's go," Ino said. As they stepped out the door, Neko noticed Naruto. She had to do a double take as well because she thought she just saw Naruto's father. Then she notices Kushina's sword. "So I take it you know about your parents then?" Neko smiled, but it was hidden under her mask. "Yes, I do know about them now and I'm glad that I know." "Did you know them?" Naruto asked. "Yes, your mother was mine and Hebei's sensei. If you want I can teach you how to use that sword," Neko said. "You'd do that for me?" Naruto said excitedly. "Of course I would. You're like a little brother to me," Neko said as she looked over at Ino was wrapping her arms around Naruto. "And it looks like your little girlfriend really likes you," Neko teased. He smiled at her then blushed as he took Ino's hand and flickered to the council meeting. When they made it to the Hokage Tower, Naruto, Ino and Sabine had to wait outside the council chambers. Inside of the chambers, all of the clan heads were there and so were the members of the civilian council. After a bit, the Hokage walked into the chambers. So I have called you all here for a very important reason. It has to deal with Sasuke Uchiha, Ino Yamanaka, and Naruto Uzumaki. Hiruzen started but was interrupted by one of the civilian council members. What does giving the Yamanaka girl to the Uchiha have to deal with that demon? The member said before his head was cut cleanly off by Neko. The civilian council was in an uproar over one of their own members being killed. Then the Hokage yelled, "Silence! You will all hold your tongue unless you want to have your head sliced clean off your shoulders." Once the civilian council members got quiet, Hiruzen continued. "Good, now he did break the law I made and he was punished for breaking it, now drop it. Now to get back on track, the Yamanaka girl will not be handed over to Sasuke Uchiha because there is a marriage contract between Ino Yamanaka and Naruto Uzumaki. There is no way I'll allow that to happen. This was decided 2 months ago, so any new contract in the past 2 months is rendered null void. The Yamanaka girl will marry the Uchiha boy," Kaharu said in calm anger. "Over my dead body," Inoichi said in anger as he slammed his fist onto the table. "That can be arranged," Kaharu said while glaring at Inoichi. "Stop this now, I am the Hokage and I will have order in this meeting," Hiruzen said as he sent a glare around the chamber room, and once he was satisfied he continued. "Good, now to Naruto, it's about time you all learn a secret that was kept from all of you." Hiruzen started as all the people in the room except for Hiruzen, Inoichi, and Neko raised their eyebrows in curiosity. "Naruto is the son of Minato Namikaze and Kushina Uzumaki," Hiruzen said as he waited for everyone's reactions. "That is the biggest bullshit thing I have ever heard. How is the demon the son of our beloved hero?" a civilian council member sneered. "Hibe, if you don't mind," Hiruzen said. "My pleasure," Neko said as she sliced off the head of that member. "Now I'll prove it to you all," Hiruzen said as he pulled out a scroll. This scroll is sealed by a blood seal and can only be opened by Minato or one of his family members. Open this. "Now please bring Naruto in," Hiruzen said as Neko opened the chamber doors and revealing Naruto, Ino, and Sabine. Everyone except Inoichi and Neko looked at Naruto and their eyes grew wide. They were surprised to see a mini version of the fourth Hokage. Then the Hokage spoke. "Naruto, will you come over here and open this scroll please?" Hiruzen said. Naruto made his way over to the side of Hiruzen and cut his thumb and leaked blood onto the seal, opening it. Naruto was now holding all of his father's books on sealing and on his signature jutsu. To say everyone was shocked would be an understatement. Now this proves Naruto is Minato's son, and with that is a marriage contract to Ino Yamanaka. It was signed by Minato 3 days after Ino was born. "Inoichi, if you please," the Hokage said. "Yes, my wife and Kushina were best friends and they set this up before Naruto was born. Here's the contract," Inoichi said as he handed it to the Neko Anbu, who then gave it to Hiruzen. "So with this, if you try to give my daughter to the Uchiha, you are breaking a law set by the fourth Hokage. I will not for it if you do. If you come for my daughter you will have to go through me, and if the spoiled brat comes near my daughter and it's not for a mission given by the Hokage, there will be no more Uchiha clan," Inoichi said as he glared at Sasuke. "You dare threaten the Uchiha clan? I am an elite, you are nothing more than a loser in a good-for-nothing clan. You should be grateful I would choose your daughter to be one of the women I've chosen to make more Uchihas," Sasuke said snobbishly. "Well, you won't get Ino. I've made sure of that," Inoichi said. "I will get her anyway, none of you can stop me whether she likes it or not. I will get from her what I want. I am an Uchiha, no one can tell me what to do. I will have her," Sasuke said as he smirked triumphantly. This pissed Naruto off greatly. He pulled out his sword slowly and flickered to behind Sasuke with it aimed at his throat. "If you talk about Ino like that or try anything like that again, I will not hesitate to end you, permanently. I don't care what this council thinks, you will die by my hand," Naruto growled. He saw Sasuke smirked before he performed the substitution jutsu and substituted with Sabine, who was standing behind Ino. He grabbed her by the throat and she tried to scream but couldn't. Naruto then used substitution jutsu with Ino and thrust his sword into Sasuke's heart, killing him on the spot. "You were nothing more than scum. I told you I would kill you if you tried to hurt Ino. I hope you never find peace," Naruto said as he swiped the sword to get the blood off and sheathed it, then made his way over to Ino to make sure she was all right. She cried into his arms for the next few minutes. "Okay, Sasuke Uchiha is now gone for good," Hiruzen said as he looked at Sasuke's dead body before turning his attention towards Naruto. Now Naruto, you protected Ino and defended her from Sasuke, so there will be no charges brought against you. You are to go, and for defeating Sasuke you are to receive all property, jutsu, and money the Uchiha clan had. Meet me at my office tomorrow around noon and we will go over something. You all are dismissed, the Hiruzen said. Naruto picked Ino up and head back to the house. The council was still shocked to finally meet the son of their hero, only to find out it was the demon kid everyone hated. Then to see how their golden boy acted and hear what he said. Then to see him attack a girl for no reason and see him get killed by that demon child so easily. Sabine looked over at Inoichi as everyone started to leave. Now I love that boy even more now. Look at how he protected our baby girl. But what the fuck if Naruto didn't kill that bastard, I was going to. No one talks about my little girl like she's some piece of juicy meat. I know dear, I was already planning on where to hide the body. He was going to be dead before the sun rose tomorrow morning, Inoichi said. When they arrived back at the house they decided to check on the young couple. They found them cuddled in bed like they had been most if not all the nights since Naruto started staying there. Sabine looked over at her husband, so Naruto is going to get Minato and Kushina's house? Do you think we should let Ino move in with him? Sabine asked as they quietly closed the bedroom door. 2 days after the meeting with the council and after Hiruzen gave Naruto access to the Uchiha clan compound and accounts, Naruto and Ino were packing up and getting ready to move into Minato and Kushina's old house. They were currently in the backyard taking a break from packing up their stuff. I can't believe that my mom and daddy said it was okay to move in with you, Ino said. Well, your dad did say that he'd rather you move in than just lie to him about where you've been when you would be at my house. I can't wait to see the house through, Naruto said with some excitement. I know what you mean. I wonder how the house is. I can't wait to see what your parents left us, like how many rooms or floors and how big the backyard is, Ino said as she tried to picture a large backyard to plant flowers in. Just then the Hebei Anbu flickered into the backyard and waved at Naruto and Ino. Hey little dude, the old man wants to see you both in his office now, Hebei said. Okay Hebei, Naruto said as he and Ino stood up from the chairs they were sitting in. Hey, Hebei, there's something I wanted to ask you, Naruto asked. Shoot, Hebei replied. I've always wondered, why have you been so nice to me and protected me? Naruto asked the masked Anbu while looking at her. Well, if you want to know, back when I was a genin fresh out of the academy I was put on a team under Orochimaru. He was my sensei and I wanted to the best for him. When he betrayed the leaf and left he took me with him, and at the time I didn't know he betrayed the leaf. So when I left with him he did a lot of bad things to me. He experimented on me, made me into an inhuman monster, and he was finished with me, he left me for dead. So when the Anbu found me and brought me back, a lot of people hated me as they did to you. In their eyes, I was a freak of nature that shouldn't even live. So when I tried to get on another team no one wanted me. But then your mother took me under her wing and put me on her squad with Neko and another girl named Kurenai. We all became like a family. She was like a mother to me and I loved her, we all did. So when she got pregnant with you she wasn't allowed to tell anyone, but she told us and swore not to tell anyone else. She told us all the hopes and dreams she had for you. So we all think of you like our little brother. So that night when everything went down we knew who you were. So the three of us have watched you grow and protected you the best we could. Kurenai took it the worst because you stayed with her for your first few months of life. She didn't want to give you up, but the Hokage thought it would be better for your own safety if you were adopted. Which we all know now was a huge mistake. You should have stayed with Kurenai. She looks in on you from time to time. Hey, who would have thought you would be the guy to melt the Ice Queen's heart? But you didn't hear that last bit from me. Got that, little brother? Hebei said with a smile from behind her mask. Naruto didn't say a word and just walked right up to Hebei and hugged her. What's this for? Hebei asked in confusion as she returned the kind gesture. For caring for me, big sis. I'll tell Neko and Kurenai the same when I see them next, Naruto said as he broke the hug. Well little bro, you and Blondie here better get moving or you'll be late, Hebei said as she flickered away. So the two took off to the Hokage tower. As they were running, Ino said, your mother sounds like a great woman. I hope I can be like her someday, Ino said. Naruto walked into the Hokage's office alongside Ino. In there were the Hokage and another man Naruto didn't recognize who was in his mid to late 40s. Naruto, my boy, this is the daimyo, the Fire Lord himself. He would like to speak with you, Hiruzen said. Okay, what's this all about then? Naruto asked. Straight to the point, just like Minato. You're his son, yes, the Fire Lord asked. Yes, sir, I am, Naruto replied. Well, as you already know, I am the Fire Lord. I was good friends with your father. I loved working with him to protect our land. Maybe one day you could pick up your father's mantle. But that is for another time. I have come here to discuss 3 things with you. One is, now that you have your birthright, you will have access to your parents' bank accounts, the daimyo said. Really? How much is it? Maybe I can do some upgrades on the house, Naruto replied. Well, between both your father and mother's accounts you have about 50 billion ryo. It's actually almost as much as mine. If you're wondering why it's so much, your mother was the princess of Uzushiogakure. She had a lot of money, and on top of that, your father was Hokage and owned lots of land and business, the Fire Lord said. Ino was seeing stars. Not only was Naruto a good man who protected her and loved her dearly, which she loved him back just as much. But not only was he super rich, now he was basically like a prince. It reminded her of one of her favorite stories when she was a little kid. Girl falls for a cute boy who everyone thinks is a street rat. Girl loves him regardless and comes to find out he's actually a prince, and they lived happily ever after. Even after finding out that Naruto was super rich and basically a prince, Ino didn't treat him any differently. She loved Naruto regardless of the size of his account and his social status. Okay, now on to the next matter. You have one living family member left alive. Your grandmother on your father's side. It's not very well known, but your father's mother was Tsunade Senju. I believe after your father and mother died, it was believed that you had died that day as well, so your grandmother left the village. She's out there somewhere doing what I can't say, the Fire Lord said. You mean I had a family member this whole time and she just left me? Naruto said angrily as he clenched his fist. I know for a fact that someone on the council told her of your passing. Who it was I'm not really sure, but I think Lord Third should look into it very soon, the Fire Lord said. Yes, I will have my best look into it, Hiruzen replied. Knowing that his grandmother didn't just leave him made him feel a lot better. Now the final thing, I would like you to be in the CRA, the Fire Lord said. CRA? What's that? Naruto asked, tilting his head in confusion. CRA is the Clan Restoration Act. It means we would like for you to marry many women and have many children to bring clan numbers back up. And with you being basically the last member of 3 great and powerful clans, you'll need to have lots of children. So Naruto, I would ask this of you. Will you accept to be put in the CRA? The Fire Lord asked. This is where Ino stepped into the conversation. I'm sorry my lord, but I am Naruto's fiancé and I speak for him when I say that his answer will be no, Ino said with a sweet tone but had anger and rage in her eyes. Hiruzen looked into Ino's eyes and got a chill sent down his spine. Kushina had that same look in her eyes when I brought this up with Minato before he became the 4th Hokage. God, that was a bad beating, Hiruzen thought to himself as he shivered at the memory. I see that the apple doesn't fall very far from the tree, the Fire Lord said as he chuckled. I believe I'll side with Ino on this one, Naruto said. He didn't want to hurt Ino by marrying other women. He loved her way too much to do that to her. Very well then Naruto, I shall take my leave. I must return to the capital, the Fire Lord said as he left the office. Naruto turned to look at the man he always thought as a grandfather. Lord Hokage, may my team and I request a mission to find my grandmother, Naruto asked. I believe that would be a great idea Naruto. Tomorrow you and Team 10 will go on your first B-rank mission, Hiruzen said. Thank you, Naruto said happily as he and Ino ran out of the office. Later that night we find Naruto packing for his team's first B-rank mission. So are you bringing anything to learn on the road? Ino asked while leaning on the doorway of Naruto's room door. Yes, I am. I'm going to bring one of my father's jutsus, Naruto said. Which one are you going to learn, babe? Ino asked curiously. The Rasengan, Naruto said. The next day Team 10 met at the gates. Naruto had explained the mission to Shikamaru and Asuma when he arrived there. This is very more troublesome than before with you 2 blondes, Shikamaru said. Asuma laughed and told everyone to keep a sharp eye because he could tell as soon as they left the gates, someone was tracking them. Asuma knew from the beginning that as soon as they left the Leaf Village they were being tracked, and just a minute later everyone else could sense that someone was following them but couldn't tell who it was. Asuma was starting to get frustrated because he tried to track down their pursuers and find them but he couldn't. When the sun started to set and the skies began to grow darker, they decided to camp out for the night. Asuma said they needed someone on watch duty first and Naruto volunteered. He was sitting on the branch of a tree that was overlooking over their entire camp. Naruto was surviving the surroundings when a person jumped up onto the branch he was sitting on. The person was wearing a black cloak with red clouds and a hood over his head, covering his face. "Hello Naruto, it's been some time since my eyes have laid on you," the cloaked figure said in a monotone. "Who are you and what do you want?" Naruto asked calmly. "Well, my name is Itachi Uchiha and what I want depends on your answers for the question I ask you," Itachi said. "So you're Sasuke's older brother, the one who killed almost his entire clan. So what is it that you want to ask me?" Naruto asked. Itachi looked up at Naruto with his dark-colored eyes. "Why is my little brother dead? Why did you kill him? He was the one who was going to bring back honor to the Uchiha clan. Now he can't. Tell me why," Itachi said while his Sharingan spun into existence. "Your brother acted like he was better than everyone else. He looked down on everyone in the village. The council put him into the CRA and he got to choose the girls for his harem. He had picked the girl that I loved dearly. When certain things were revealed and he realized he wasn't going to get his way, he attacked the women I love. I had no choice but to put him down. I didn't want to do it, but I will do anything to protect my loved ones from harm, believe it," Naruto said as he looked into Itachi's Sharingan without hesitation, almost daring him to use a genjutsu on him. "I see," Itachi started as he deactivated his Sharingan. "Well, you did it to protect a loved one. There isn't any more honorable way than that," Itachi said. "Well, what are you going to do now? Are you going to kill me?" Naruto asked as he slowly reached for his kunai holster. No, I'm not. But I do think it is time for me to atone for some of the things that I have done. I think I'm going to head home and talk to the Hokage," Itachi said. "You're going back to the village?" Naruto asked with a surprised tone. "Yes, it's time to go home. Good luck on finding Tsunade and be careful. There are people out there that are looking for you," Itachi said. "Wait, how did you know that we were looking for her?" Naruto asked. "Naruto, I have known you for a long time. When you were very young I watched over as an Anbu. Just ask Neko about Weasel when you get back," Itachi said as he smiled. Then he exploded into a murder of crows and disappeared into the dark of night. By the morning of the next day Itachi had reached the front gates of the Leaf. He approached the gates when the two Chunin guards, Azumo and Katetsu, who were guarding the gate, stopped him. "Itachi Uchiha, you are under arrest," Azumo said. "So be it. You can arrest me, but please summon some Anbu. I wish to speak with two of them," Itachi replied, showing no emotions. Just then 10 Anbu flickered to the front gate, Neko and Hibei among them. "Why did you return, Itachi?" Neko asked in a cold tone. "I wish to speak with the Hokage," Itachi replied as he looked straight ahead. "Why do you think we would let you and not kill you right here on the spot?" Hibei said as she placed her hand on her sword. "Because if you were going to kill me you would have done it already, Hibei," Itachi said as he moved his gaze to look at her. "Besides, what I have to tell the Hokage is important. It's about Naruto and I don't think you want your little brother hurt or taken, right? If it will help put you at ease, put a chakra suppression seal tag on me for the time being," Itachi said. "So be it," Neko said. She walked behind Itachi and removed his cloak and pulled up the back of his shirt and placed the chakra suppression tag in the middle of his back. After she finished that, both her and Hibei flickered him into the Hokage's office. The aging Hokage looked up from his paperwork that looked at the missing nin. "Itachi, what has brought you back to the village?" Hiruzen asked. "A few things really. 1. Atonement for the things I have done. 2 is to give you some info on a group trying to get their hands on all the tailed beast. And 3 is a warning about Orochimaru's impending invasion of the Leaf Village," Itachi said to him. "Any word on when the invasion will happen?" Hiruzen asked. "The Chunin exam finals," Itachi replied. It appears to restart my training if I'm going to stop my old student." "Now, what of this group that you were a part of looking to get their hands on all the tailed beast?" Hiruzen replied. "I was part of an organization called Akatsuki. We were a group of missing nins paired together to capture the hosts of the tailed beast and extract their tailed beast," Itachi explained. "Well, we must not let that happen. Could you tell us about all of their abilities?" Hiruzen asked. "Yes, I will tell you when I am taken to the Anbu headquarters." I must atone for the wrongdoings that I have done, Itachi said. The Hokage sat in his seat in silence while in deep thought about everything that was happening and what had happened. Itachi, you have nothing to atone for. You have protected this village with honor and sacrifice. I will not have you arrested. You're a great shinobi and you have always put the village first even over your family and clanmates. With your brother gone we could lose the Sharingan forever. I have a better idea. Itachi, will you promise to protect the village? Hiruzen said as he asked Itachi his question. Yes, Lord Hokage, I will do anything to protect this village and to bring back honor to the Uchiha clan, Itachi said as he bowed to Hiruzen. That's good to hear because I have a plan that will not only bring back honor to the Uchiha clan but stop Orochimaru at the same time. That very same morning on the other side of the fire country, Naruto woke up with his head on Ino's lap as she played with his hair. They all ate breakfast around the fire they had made the night before. Where are we going to look for her first? Naruto asked as he rose his head up from Ino's lap, earning him a protest from her. Tazana Town, your grandmother loves to gamble. That's where we should find her or at least get some info on where she might be, Asuma said. Sounds troublesome, to be honest, but then again, everything is troublesome with you blondes, Shikamaru said lazily. Everything is troublesome to you, Shikamaru. This is a great mission, we get to find Lady Tsunade. She will be so glad to see Naruto and we'll bring her back to the village. It's so easy for a B-rank mission. Plus I get to spend more time with Whiskers here, Ino said as she grabbed Naruto's arm and laid her head down on his shoulder. Thanks, babe. I just hope we find her. I want to meet someone from my family, Naruto said as he gave a quick kiss to Ino's forehead. Well, let's get a move on. We should be in Tazana Town by noon if we hurry, Asuma said. Team 10 packed everything up and began running to the town to find Tsunade. 1 full month of running around the 5 great nations and they were nowhere close to finding Tsunade. They had been to every bar, casino, and gambling house in each of the towns they visited. When they arrived in one town they decided to split up and search the town with Asuma saying that it would be quicker that way. Ino had been looking around the town for a while now, was about to give up when she saw a man was thrown outside through a brick wall. Ino looked into the building through the giant hole the guy came through and a late 20-something blonde yelling at some other guy who she assumed was with the guy who was just thrown outside. Who do you think I am, huh? Do you think I'm some poor young girl you can take advantage of? I am Tsunade of the Sannin. One of the legendary 3 and you think that you could just grab my ass? Boy, you picked the wrong women to mess with, Tsunade shouted in angry while cracking her knuckles. Ino saw that behind the enraged woman was a girl in her early 20s with short black hair holding a pig. Ino saw her trying to calm Tsunade down and convince her not to damage the whole building. Ino decided that she should go and get Tsunade before she left her EY sight. So Ino stepped into the building through the hole and walked right up to Tsunade. Hi, Lady Tsunade, I'm Ino Yamanaka. My team and I are on a mission to find you. We have some important news for you, but first, we have to meet up with my team. If you could please follow me, Ino asked. And why should I follow you, little girl? The leaf had nothing left for me anymore. There's no one left anymore, my whole family was killed, Tsunade said in a saddened tone. Please Lady Tsunade, please meet my sensei. I have no doubt in my mind that if you listen to what he has to say you will come back with us, Ino pleaded. Tsunade looked at Ino in the eyes for a bit before giving the platinum blonde a smile. You sparked my interest, kid. I will go meet this sensei of yours. Lead the way, Tsunade said, then turning her head towards the other women standing there. Come on Shizune, let's go. Why yes mama. The women now named Shizune said quickly as she started following Ino and Tsunade. As they made their way to the meet-up point they all agreed on. They met up with Shikamaru. You found her? Shikamaru asked lazily. Yes, I found Lady Tsunade, let's go meet up with sensei, Ino said. After another minute or 3 of walking, they finally made it to the meeting point where Asuma and Naruto were waiting. It's been some time since I've seen you Lady Tsunade, Asuma said when he spotted the group of 4 walking their way. It has been a while, but what is it that you wanted to tell me anyway? Not that I don't mind this trip down memory lane, but I would like to get back on with my life. And I don't have any intention of going back to the Leaf Village. I've lost too much, Tsunade said with an annoyed tone. Naruto just stood there and smiled like an idiot. He wasn't really sure about what to do. Lady Tsunade, What if I told you that you haven't lost everything? What if I told you that you still have family in the leaf? Asuma said. What are you talking about? That good damn fox killed and finished off my family 12 years ago. That's what I was told, Tsunade shouted but finished with a sad tone. Well, I can only tell you that you were lied to, Lady Tsunade, Asuma said. Tsunade whipped her head up and stared at Asuma with a questioning gaze. Asuma made his way over to Naruto and put one of his hands on the blonde's shoulders. This is Naruto Uzumaki, Lady Tsunade. He's your grandson, Asuma said. Tsunade looked at Naruto intently before she felt tears well up in her eyes. After a moment, tears started to stream down Tsunade's face. Naruto, I thought that you had died alongside your parents, Tsunade said as she fell onto her knees and while crying, I'm so sorry that I wasn't there for you. Naruto started to cry as he walked up to her and hugged her tightly. It's okay, Grandma, I know you wouldn't have left me, you were lied to. Tsunade satisfied when Naruto hugged her but quickly returned one and Naruto felt her loving embrace. They both cried together for a few minutes until Naruto said, I'm so glad that we found you, Grandma, I love you. I love you too, dear, and now that I found you I will never leave you again. But now we must go back to the leaf. I'm going to kill that fucking bastard Danzo. That old fuck is dead. I'm going to tear his throat out. Let's go, Tsunade said angrily. Well, this is troublesome, Shikamaru said. Will you shut up and be happy for Naruto? My babe now has some family in his life. I'm so happy for you, baby, Ino said while smiling. Tsunade looked at Naruto with a raised eyebrow. Oh, Grams, I almost forgot to tell you. This is Ino, the love of my life, Naruto said as he took Ino's hand into his own. Tsunade studied the couple for a minute before she looked at Ino. You said your last name was Yamanaka, correct? Tsunade asked. Ino smiled. Yes, my father is Inoichi Yamanaka and my mother is Sabine Yamanaka. Well, it appears that both of your mothers got their wish granted, Tsunade said before turning her attention back to Naruto. Oh, also Naruto, this is Shizune, she's your aunt, Tsunade said. He ran to Shizune and hugged her. She happily hugged him back and kissed him on the forehead. I'm glad I finally get to meet you, Naruto, Shizune said while giving Naruto a closed-eye smile. I'm glad I got to meet you finally to Auntie, Naruto said with tears in his eyes again. Well, now that we found you, Lady Tsunade, we need to head home, Asuma said as he turned around and started heading in the direction towards the leaf. The sound of 3 bodies hitting the cold stone ground of council member chambers echoed as the Anbu known as Crow finished off the elders without a problem, taking Shisui's eye and the Sharingan implanted arm of Danzo. Putting each Sharingan in a separate container to preserve it, Crow then seals them into a storage scroll and flickers to the Hokage's office. It is done, my lord, Crow said while kneeling. Good, Crow, how are your new eyes coming along? Hiruzen asked. Itachi had taken Sasuke's eyes and implanted them into himself, curing him of his blindness and giving him access to the M's. They're fine, but Danzo and the other 2 elders are dead. One more to go and the leaf's honor will be restored, Crow said. Yes, it will. We can no longer let the past mistakes plague us. I have a new vision for the leaf and you're a big part of it, Hiruzen said. What do you mean Naruto is with Ino? Hinata yelled angrily. My mom said that at the council meeting they were going to get married. From what it looks like he really loves her, he even killed Sasuke for her. She loves him to Hinata, there's not much you can do, Kiba said. I was always being nice to him, being friends with him, and he jumps like a dog at the first girl that bats her eyes at him, Hinata yelled in frustration. Hey, there's nothing wrong with dogs, Kiba said. You know what I mean, Kiba. I mean, I am a goddamn princess. I get what I want, so if that blonde bitch thinks she can take what's mine, she is sorely mistaken. If I can't have him, then no one can, Hinata said darkly. At that time Sakura was sitting on a bench in the park, thinking about how her life has changed in the past few years. I really liked Sasuke, but he's gone now. I can't believe he picked Ino over me. I loved Sasuke and Ino likes Naruto. Arg, I don't get it, Sakura said as she yelled in frustration. I miss my friend. Ino was my only friend and I threw that away. All for a boy that didn't even like me. What the hell is wrong with me? I want my friend back even if I had to be friends with Naruto. I will, Sakura thought as she got up with a look of determination as she ran home. Neko, Hibei, and Kurenai were at their favorite dango shop currently. Well, it's been some time since we got together, Kurenai said. Yes it has, it's nice, Hibei said. So what do you all think of little bro's blonde girlfriend, Neko asked, taking another stick of dango and eating it. I like her. She's got spunk and she really cares for little bro. Plus if she hurts him she's snake food, Hibei said. She's cute but I know my student has her eyes set on him and she's a kind girl, Kurenai said. You mean the Hyuga girl? Neko asked. Yes, she a nice and quiet girl but she's really shy though, Kurenai said while munching on some dango. That girl's not shy, she's got everyone fooled. She just doesn't want to act like all the other Hyuga, that's all. I bet she's a real bitch under that shy mask of hers, Hibei said. Hibei, leave Kurenai's student out of this. Get back to the subject at hand about Naruto with Ino. Now I for one love her, she reminds me so much of Kushina that it's scary. So I felt we should start looking out for her as well, Neko said. You're right, we should, Kurenai said while nodding in agreement. Yeah, might as well look out for her for the little dude, Hibei said. Minato and Kushina had just stopped the nine-tailed fox from killing Naruto by sealing it into him. It's my job as a father to protect and die for his child, Minato said while looking at Naruto. It's my job as his mother to do the same, Kushina replied. Minato looked at Kushina with a stern gaze. No, your job is to raise and love our son and also train him so he can eventually control the nine tails sealed inside of him, Minato said while cupping one of Kushina's cheeks. But Minato, Kushina protested, with the fox being taken out of me I will die. My body is too weak to survive. Kushina cried out. Minato and Kushina shared a look before Kushina saw Minato fly through several hand signs single-handedly in a jutsu she's never seen before. After Minato was finished weaving the last hand sign he placed his palm on Kushina's forehead. Kushina, I love you but you need to be there for Naruto to help him. With this jutsu, it will heal you but it will take some time to work fully. I wish it could work faster but I'm not as good as my mother when it comes to medical ninjutsu, Minato said as he flashed her his signature smile for the last time. Kushina then froze as a crystal covered her entire body. He then kissed her one final time before he used the Flying Thunder God jutsu to put her in their room. The whole room was sealed so whenever a family member entered the room she will awaken. Minato then finished the sealing of the entire nine tails into Naruto and died. Over the years Kushina healed but was never awoken because no one has touched the house since that night. So, she waited for the day to come when Naruto would return home. Tsunade, Shizune, and all of Team 10 arrived back in the village and were on their way to report to the Hokage. After a bit of walking through the village while in the process receiving stares and whispers from the villagers, they arrived at the Hokage mansion and went inside and made it to the door that lead into the Hokage's office. Asuma knocked on the door and received an enter. After receiving permission, they all walked into Hiruzen's office. Hiruzen looked up from his paperwork and smiled at Naruto. So Naruto, I take it that the mission went well? Hiruzen asked. Yes it did, it went very well, Naruto smiled. Good to hear, Hiruzen replied. Where is Danzo and the other elders? I have some business with them. Tsunade yelled in anger as she brought a fist into her open hand. They have been taken care of. For too many years, I have let them walk over me and let them do whatever they wanted. That had to stop so I had my new top Anbu end them, Hiruzen replied with a slightly angered tone. They're lucky that you granted them with that kind of mercy. I would have made them suffer but I'm glad they're gone nonetheless, Tsunade said as she calmed down. Maybe so, Hiruzen replied. Well then, I guess we should get going now, Tsunade said. Yes and welcome back to the village Tsunade. I'm glad you reunited with your grandson, Hiruzen said. Thank you sensei, Tsunade said as she bowed. When they left the Hokage's mansion they went their ways. Asuma left with Shikamaru saying something along the lines of, Shogi rematch, while Ino, Naruto, Tsunade, and Shizune stayed together. As they were walking down the street they spotted Sakura and she spotted them and ran towards them. Ino seeing this, she stepped forward and went to stop Sakura from doing anything stupid. What do you want forehead? Ino hissed. Sakura stopped dead in her tracks right in front of the group, bowing her head slightly. Ino, I want to say I'm sorry for the way I acted towards you and Naruto. I am deeply sorry and I want to apologize for my actions, Sakura said as she let tears fall down her cheeks. I want my friend back, Sakura cried. Ino stood there and thought about what Sakura said then she spoke after a minute. That's all well and good, Sakura, but I'm not sure I can trust you yet. You have done some messed up things to my boyfriend and almost got him killed. I want my best friend back too, but you're going to have to work for it for me to be able to trust you again. If I think you're up to something, Sakura, that's it, we're done and I'm going to hurt you bad. I love Naruto with all my being and I would die for him. I wouldn't let anyone hurt him, understood? Ino said. I understand, Ino, Sakura said through her sobs. She put her arms around Ino and hugged her and cried into her shoulder. I'm glad that you do, Sakura, Ino said as she hugged her back. After a couple of minutes passed, Sakura broke from the hug, whipping away her tears with the backs of her hands. I hope I find someone to love the way you and Naruto love each other. I also wanted to say congratulations on your engagement, Ino. I'm really happy for you, Sakura said. Thank you, Sakura. I hope you do find someone, but I have a lot of stuff to move into mine and Naruto's new house. So once we're settled, we'll have you over, okay, Ino said. Sounds good. See you around, Ino, Sakura said as she waved and turned around and started to walk away. Okay, see you then, Ino said, returning a wave. While Ino was talking to Sakura, Naruto, Tsunade, and Shizune went ahead to Ino's house to get stuff ready for the move. Ino caught up with them at her house as they were getting their stuff ready to move into Naruto's parents' house. I'm so excited to finally see our new house, Whiskers, Ino said. I know, I'm excited too. I hope that the house is in good shape, Naruto said. Naruto then created enough shadow clones to carry all the boxes that they were taking over. They went to the far side of the village where the house was located. When they got to the house, they were surprised. There was a large front yard filled with trees, a brick pathway leading to a circular-shaped patio space. The pathway led up to the house and came to form the front porch. On either side of the porch surrounding it was unused flower beds. The house itself was huge. It had to be at least 4 stories tall, including the basement, and on the top floor were 3 balconies. The first floor had a big kitchen, 2 bathrooms, a huge dining room, and a living room. The second floor was a few bedrooms and his mother's and father's offices, a huge training dojo, and 2 more bathrooms. On the top floor were a few bigger bedrooms and the sealed master bedroom, plus 2 more bathrooms. As they were checking out the house, the clones started to put stuff away. A few tried to open the sealed master bedroom door so that they could put Naruto and Ino's stuff away, but they popped whenever they tried to open the door. Naruto realized what was happening when he received the memories of the clones and made his way up the stairs with Ino and Tsunade in tow. Shizune stayed down on the first floor to look around the kitchen. When they arrived at the top floor and arrived in front of the sealed master bedroom, Tsunade saw the seal placed on the door. Naruto, put a little blood on the door handle and channel your chakra as you open the door, Tsunade suggested. Naruto nodded as he took out a kunai and cut his thumb and dripped some blood onto the door handle. He then gripped the handle with the same hand and channeled some chakra into that hand and opened the door. The 3 walked in and were shocked at what they saw. There, on the bed, lay Kushina, Naruto's mother, in a crystal prison. When they made their way over to the bed, the crystal started to crack. Then it burst into millions of pieces and Kushina's eyes flew open. Kushina rose up from the bed slowly and noticed Tsunade standing next to her with 2 kids she didn't recognize. All 3 were in shock. Kushina's eyes suddenly grew wide and she quickly turned to Tsunade. Tsunade, is that you? Where's Naruto? How old is he? How long was I asleep? Kushina said in a panicked state. Tsunade shook her own head as she calmed Kushina down. Kushina, how are you here? I thought you died with Minato when you sealed the fox inside Naruto, Tsunade asked. I was going to die, but Minato did some type of crystal healing jutsu on me that you created, Kushina said. The healing crystal cryonics prison jutsu, Tsunade mumbled. Not sure if that's the name, but on to more important things. Where's my baby Tsunade? Kushina asked. Naruto started to tear up. Mom, Naruto said as tears threatened to fall. Kushina turned towards the boy she saw when she woke up and realized that she was out longer than she expected to be. Naruto, baby, Kushina cried out as she reached out for him and brought him into a hug.
That's all for now. If you want to see next part, then please like this video and subscribe my channel. Thank you.